Hello and good evening. Welcome to round 3 of the NRL 7th season, and boy do we have a spectacular round in store for us tonight. My name is Toon and I'm accompanied by two commentators who can tackle anything with their wonderful talents. I'm talking about Slow-Mo and Hovercraft. Slow-Mo, tonight we have rain. It's appearing that the proverbial kitchen sink is being thrown at these drivers this round. How are you feeling in terms of what we have in store for tonight?
Well, I'm excited. I mean, you're going to see some of the best drivers on the Gran Turismo scene do what they do best and manage this rain. It's going to be interesting when it starts. We're not 100% sure. It's going to be a lot of fun. So sit back and enjoy and watch these guys at their best tonight.
Oh yeah, they're definitely going to have to bring their best. We're inching closer and closer to those finals, and it's going to be every point counts from here forward. Now, Hovercraft, as I had mentioned, we are nearing the end of the season. Just this and the semifinals, then it's off to the finals where it's going to be winner takes all. How are you feeling with everything we've seen so far and with really what's to come?
Well, it's been really interesting, Toon, to see how all the drivers have tackled the complexities of all that has been thrown at them their way. Everyone has been giving it their all, and but as you said, we're still a bit away from the finals. No one can exactly lose focus quite yet. So we're going to be interested in seeing who takes off the gloves these final few rounds before the finals, and yeah, I'm kind of excited to see how everyone's going to fare tonight.
Taking off the gloves is something I couldn't agree with more. There's no more room for theatrics or to build suspense. This is really when those drivers seriously have to buckle down. Now, as always, before we get into the race details and point spreads, we would love to take a moment to thank our just absolutely fantastic sponsors for this season.
Uh, the NRL would like to thank the DGDR podcast. This fan favorite podcast is where four drivers from the PDX Sim team take you inside the world of motorsports and sim racing. From breaking news to heated debates, wild stories to pro tips, these guys cover it all with passion, chaos, and plenty of comedy, trust me. Be sure to check out the DGDR podcast with new episodes dropping every Friday, and you may catch some of your NRL favorites on there as well from time to time. Every Monday. Sorry if I said something different there. We would also like to thank Trails End Custom Construction. If you're in the North or in the Charlotte, North Carolina area and feel your home doesn't really speak to you, then look no further than Trails End Custom Construction. This family-owned and operated company offers bespoke solutions including furniture, home building, cabinets, and much more. They'll work closely with you to bring your dream home to life right before your very eyes, both on time and within budget. With nothing but 5-star reviews online, you can trust that their dream home is in great hands. Trails End Custom Construction, building your dream homes and cabinetry that tell your story. And you can get them at trailsendconstruction.com. We would also like to thank Hankey's Tavern as well, situated in charming Old Town Florissant in St. Louis, Missouri. If great food, great drinks, and great company are what you're looking for, then look no further than Hankey's Tavern. If you're in the St. Louis area, then stop on by and watch the NRL broadcast live on one of their many large screen TVs, and be sure to let them know that the NRL has sent them. Lastly, we would like to thank Little J CPA, turning streams and side hustles into smart money moves. Whether you're building a smart business, growing a brand, or cashing in on streaming income, they'll help you track your earnings, maximize your deductions, and keep more of what you've worked for. You focus on branding, we'll handle the numbers. It's Little J CPA.
Thank you very much, Slow-Mo. Now it's time we go and take a look at what our Division B drivers will be up against this evening. So, for tonight's Division B race, we take a stop on over to Japan, where we are at High Speed Ring in the Audi e-tron VGT car. They will be doing 33 laps with 2 times tire and 1 times fuel consumption. They will have a 10-minute qualifier. They will be racing on racing softs and racing mediums with no racing tire required. BOP will be on with brake balance allowed, and that will be a grid start with false start check. They will also have to make a minimum of 1 pit stop, and they're going to have to contend with some heavy damage. Now, with all that said, let's go over to Slow-Mo in the points corner to tell us how scoring works this season.
Yeah, thanks, Toon. So the drivers are fighting for 14 positions between the A and the B division. That's between Friday and Saturday. So A division gets 14 positions in the finals. The B division gets 14 positions in the finals. In order to get there, they have to accrue as many points as possible throughout the season. So you'll see for tonight's race, these are the point totals these guys can acquire through tonight. 25 points for the race winner. The second gets 18, 15, and down on from there. If they are in the top 10 and have the fastest lap in the race, they can also get an extra bonus point.
Thank you, Slow-Mo. Making our way over to the driver lineup for this Division B race, we have Bells 1S, Corridor 71, IORT Fishtail, Luis, Lyric, MD Hop 2, MK3 WHR, PDX Sim PSVR2, Prod Captain Slow, Robson, Sugar Shuffles, VIP JP Scale, VIP Rowdy Burns, and Z Eller. Listed next to their names are their Twitch and or YouTube channels, should they be applicable. Feel free to go and take a look at the driver's perspectives, because they might just be streaming their POV, but if you do, make sure you leave this tab open and unmuted so you don't miss any of the racing action. All right, and before we get into discussing our thoughts for this race, want to take a quick moment to give a special thank you to Big Joe with the $5 donation. Says, "Let's go racing, boys." And we also have a $20 direct donation from T-Case. Thank you both so very much for the generous donations. For those of you that are unaware, all monetary donations, be it direct links, super chat, super sticker, Swiss bank account transfers, all go right into the prize pool. That helps fund not only our drivers' racing pot, but also pays for our stewards and production and us up in the booth. You don't have to donate if you don't have the means to. Your viewership is more than enough, and every little bit does go a long way. So please spread the word and let them know about some fantastic racing over here at the NRL. Now, we've got rain. We've got an electric car. We've got racing softs and racing medium. This is going to be an interesting one. Electric cars, they don't have the usual, petrol-powered car wind-up time when it comes to getting up to speed. It's foot down, off we go. So, Slow-Mo, do you think we're going to be seeing some drivers driving a little delicately with all of this rain?
Oh, I don't know if you're going to see these guys being too terribly delicate. They're still going to be very, very quick. I would be surprised to see anybody being too delicate throughout this, as these guys are going to be getting a lot of slipstream even with the rain. It's high speed ring, so there's no surprises. You know exactly what's coming up. I think one of the big challenges they're going to face is trying to stay out of the wall around a couple of those turns and stay away from getting penalties.
Yeah, and those penalties and that damage are going to be nothing to scoff at. Now, as we jump on board with Bells 1S, who is part of Team Papa's House of Game, last appearance was Season 7, Round 2, where unfortunately was a did not start at Iger Nordvan. Currently sitting with 2 points in total for the season, thus putting him in Division B overall P26. Now, for our eagle-eyed viewers, you will notice that we only have 3 drivers on track. Post stewards' decisions and appeals last week, there was quite a bit of qualifying bans for this round, so we only have 3 drivers that actually get the opportunity to set some qualifying times. The grid order is going to be set by championship order, so those with the higher points will start in P4, 5, and downward till we have our grid all set. Now, as we see Bell's coming across the line, sets a 105.720 and moving over into JP Scale, who is getting ready to cross the start-finish line with a 108.456. Looks like just getting into the rhythm. Now, JP Scale is part of Team Victory and Performance Racing. Saw him last round at Eiger Nordvand, where he finished P12. Currently has 28 points for the season and is sitting in P5 overall for Division B. You can find him on YouTube at JP_Scale. Now, Hovercraft, we've already got quite a bit of rain here, and I do see that JP Scale is qualifying on the intermediate tires. Do you think that's probably the safest option in terms of going about qualifying?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the wet bar towards the bottom left of the driver's screen, right now JP is in the tunnel, but once he gets out here to the wet, you see that the bar is in between two of those horizontal lines, meaning that currently the best tire for going out on track is the intermediates. Now, also on that end, the amount of rain that's on the track is also visible through that bar. So when the bar gets a little bit closer to that first horizontal line, the track will be quicker overall as we see JP Scale drop a 105.082. So expect the faster times to possibly be at the end of this qualifying session.
All right, well, let's take a look and see how that all transpires as we jump on board with Luis, who is starting his hot lap. Coming around the bank of turn one, keeping it towards the middle and bringing it on down, trying to carry as much momentum as possible to maximize on his overall lap time. Now, Luis is a free agent. Saw him last round at Eiger Nordvand, where he finished P9. Currently sitting overall in P27 for the Division B across Friday and Saturday. Now, I will say I did notice on Luis's livery there were quite a few unhappy faces on there. I don't know if it's because of the rain or because of external factors, but yeah, I don't know. I think he might not be too thrilled with the moisture on the track. Unfortunately, not a whole lot we can do, as Luis does round the last bank, getting close to the rail, but doesn't look like he really made contact on it. And coming across the line to set a lap time of a 105.479. Moving on over to our current qualifying leader in VIP JP Scale, who has a 105.082. Currently down almost a quarter of a second on his personal best, so not the ideal qualifying time, but we do still have about 4.5 minutes of qualifying left. Now, this car, again, being all electric, it's quick, and it's also one of those that looks like it really relies on the downforce. And honestly, a Hovercraft, in your opinion, do you think these drivers are going to be able to capitalize on any of the downforce in their car when they're racing on the intermediates or the wets on this track?
I believe so, because, you know, with since this is much more of an oval circuit than a traditional road circuit, a lot of the fastest lines are really going to be dependent on how smooth you're able to, you know, steer the car. You know, how much are you able to really make sure you don't scrub off any speed by oversteering. So luckily the downforce of these cars is helping them do that. But at the same time, right, they also have to be careful with putting down the power, specifically towards that middle section, right? Being able to balance not just what line you're taking and how much steering input you have to do that. As you see that, Luis does hit the wall and get front bumper damage.
He does hit that with quite a bit of gusto. So we have him coming around the bank and up towards the first hairpin section of the race, or of the circuit. And looks like he just understeered off and, yeah, just got a quick greeting from Sir Barry R. the First. And Slow-mo, looks like we've got a relatively close grid right now for our drivers that are qualifying. Bell's currently leading the way with a 104.693, and the sun is coming out. Do you think that's going to play a factor in these qualifying times over the next 2 3/4 of a minute?
Yeah, I absolutely do. And you'll see Luis has now dipped into the pits to get himself maybe a pair of racing slicks. I don't know. That rain meter's still a little bit high for slicks, but it's possible he may go out there and do that. He's definitely going to get his damage repaired and try and get himself one more clean lap. But granted, yeah, there's only three guys. I think one thing that kind of surprised me is they're very much spread out. Personally, if it was me, I would have tried to stick with somebody and maybe tried to use some of that qualifying slipstream to maybe get myself an improved time through here.
Yeah, I can agree with going that route. And one thing that is also going to be a little bit of a thorn in the side for these drivers, that if any of them do decide from this point forward to go and hop on the slicks, A, they have to do it now. B, they're going to have to really follow that dry line that is forming on the track with the sun being out. So they're really not going to be able to take an optimal racing line per se. Now, as you see, Bells currently still on the intermediates, does go purple yet again. So it looks like Bells may be trying to chip away and get further into the mid 104 territory. And he's honestly in prime position to do so. He's able to use all the track afforded to him. He's able to run wide. I mean, the tunnel, of course, is going to be bone dry. But it looks like he lost a little bit of time between the time checks and is now down by almost 0.04 of a second. Let's see if he can bounce back on this last corner as he makes his way to the start-finish line and is able to afford himself one more qualifying lap. As he comes across the line, he's down a little over a tenth. So let's go and take a look at Luis, who is on the intermediates, coming out of the first bank and into the hairpin, keeping it nice and neat. I heard a bit of a thud on the wall, but it doesn't look like there's enough to really do anything. He is down about 0.07 of a second on his personal best at this moment. Making his way through the bends of the circuit and into the tunnel. Let's see if he can bounce back from it. Looks like tail end gets a little squirrely, but he's able to soldier on just fine. And there we go. He was able to bounce back. He is up by 0.06 of a second. He is purple at this moment. Let's see if he can carry that momentum. All right, and using the powers of instant transmission via Son Goku, he was able to warp around the last corner and across the line for purple, up by 0.02 of a second. Let's see if Bells has a retort for that in the last 5 seconds of this qualifier. Looks like he's in prime position, so as he nears it, as the time runs out, will he do it? It doesn't appear so, down a tenth. So it looks like, ooh, and VIP JP Scale does have a 3-second penalty. So it looks like Luis will be walking away with pole position on this one, down 0.75 of a second. So very well done to Luis. Slow-mo, as is tradition, the last-minute miracle from an NRL driver.
Yeah, and he's actually got one more that he's able to complete out here to see if he can improve on that just a little bit. That track's drying out a little bit, as you see, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to get him down into the 103s or even that low 104. So let's see how he ends up coming out of here. Really, it's interesting to see the lines they're taking. The apex on the turn is not the fastest route for them. You cannot improve there.
Unfortunately, no. He was purple coming through that final time check, but I guess the bank, he must have just scrubbed off all the speed, unfortunately. But that is still not a time to scoff at, because, I mean, 104.6 with wet weather conditions, and they're going to be doing 33 laps like this. I think we're in prime position for some really close racing. I don't know how experienced you are with wet weather racing slow-mo. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan, but that's only because I don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, only what I've experienced in some of the PHG races that I've participated in, and it's funny. I know they nicknamed Shaggy the Rainmaker, but really, McNaughty with the NRL kind of is the original Rainmaker. We've seen this from the very beginning. There is always, like you said, that kitchen sink round, and it's exciting to see these guys navigate the conditions they're going to have today.
Yeah, these conditions are not for the faint of heart or just overall weaker in constitution. So this is definitely what's going to separate our finalists from really the rest of the world. Our racers are world-class drivers, and hovercraft, you borne witness to it plenty of times. These drivers, they're really made of something else. They're just cut from a different sort of cloth than your usual daily drivers. So, do you think we're going to be seeing some close racing?
Absolutely, and I want to give a really big round of applause to Luis. He may not have had the fastest line, as Slomo pointed it out, but the deciding factor that got him this pole position was that he changed over to a fresh set of intermediates before the final runs, meaning he had the freshest tires as well as the best track conditions to steal pole away from Bells and JP Skill. And those are the type of decisions that really turn, pole positions into possible wins or people that have to start all the way at the back. And I really do want to applaud Luis for making that, strategical choice to get him that pole today.
Oh, yeah, that was great race IQ. And now let's go and take a look at the classified qualifying results. We'll keep this brief. So, taking pole position will be Luis with the 104.673. Coming behind him by 200ths of a second on the dot is PHG Bells with a 104.693. And rounding out our podium for qualifying and our qualifying drivers will be VIP JP Scale with the 105.068. So there's honestly this does add a good air of mystery, Slomo. We've got three drivers that did qualify, but we've also got the rest of the field that had to serve their punishment with the penalty ban or the qualifying ban. So we don't know what the rest of the field has in store for us. I mean, I've seen it in real life motor racing where where a lot of the field has been penalized. There was a time in GT World Challenge Asia, I think it was 2 years ago at Suzuka, three drivers pitted while the rest just kept going when they weren't supposed to, and all but three drivers got slapped with a pretty hard penalty. So art does imitate life on this one. So what do we have in store with just all these unknown variables from our drivers that didn't qualify?
I think you've got a lot of slipstream in store today, and this is the perfect track to, have a back seat, kind of watch some of the chaos unfold ahead of you and really, be patient, pick your spot when you want to get in there and start making moves. So I think you'll see a lot of guys playing patient in the beginning of this race. And, it's funny. I say that all the time and then they go out and do the exact opposite. But I believe they're going to be patient in the beginning. We may see some pretty intense first couple laps, though. Expect 2, 3 wide, really going in a variety of places on the track here.
Oh yeah, we're going to be seeing many a car abreast, and it's going to be interesting. The 3, 4 wide going through the banks. It's going to be absolutely cinematic, and it's also I'm hoping going to be some really fun racing for our drivers. Now, hovercraft. This is a grid start with false start check, wet weather conditions, so they're going to be starting in pretty much a huge puddle of water. So, what would be some keys to success for making sure you not only don't jump the gun, but also make sure that once the lights go out the second time, your car is still pointing the right direction?
In this game, it's typically the best way to start off the line is typically throw it into TC1, use the handbrake right before the lights turn off, and then just completely have your throttle to the floor. But with these conditions and with these cars, it's a little bit more tricky, right? With rain and the intermediate tires at hand, and the fact that this is an electronic car, meaning the torque pretty much gets to the wheels instantly. As we mentioned before, there's no real power curve as as typical gas cars has, right? All the torque is going to come down to the rear or to all wheels. I say rear wheels. This is an all-wheel drive. But even then, I still think that drivers are going to have some difficulties in terms of just trying to control the car off the line, right? Even with TC1, even with possibly TC2, there's just going to be such a lack of grip on this initial starting line, and I think a lot of these drivers are going to be having to do partial throttle off the line, which we see in a lot of other sims. I'm not going to say that's a an unknown technique, but in this game, with how, for a lack of a better word, for how merciful starts are typically, it's going to be a bit of a new element that I hope these drivers practice for.
Yeah, honestly, I think TC5 is the way they're gonna have to go for this. And yeah, you made a good point. It is an all-wheel drive car. It is an electric car. So you're getting that power immediately. And from a standing start in water, um, yeah, the handbrake is always going to be the given. But I don't know, with the sheer power this car has, the sheer acceleration, and the fact that you're going to have to start on intermediates, that like make no mistake about it, it's either intermediates or it's going to be wets, and that's up to the driver's discretion on whether or not they want to just play the safe bet and use the heavy wets, or try and eke out a little bit of extra speed and roll the dice a tiny bit when it comes to starting on the intermediates. All in all, uh, this is this is a very unknown beast in a sense, but as I say that, I am taken back. In slow mo, you can definitely fact check me here. It was the season one finals for the NRL where it was NERB GP in Super Formula cars, and it was also pretty rainy there too. Now, I don't think it started in the rain, but they were still using all electric machinery, and we did get some pretty intense racing out of that. So, would I be mistaken in saying we are dealing with potentially a finals level difficulty sort of race for our Division B drivers this round?
No, I think that's fair. I mean, it's tricky. It's the high speed ring, yes, but you add that element of the wet weather in there. Like Hover said, these cars have a lot of power. It's going to be very fun to watch these guys battle throughout this, and expect it to be some close, tight racing. I mentioned earlier the slipstream is very strong, and you're going to see some people really using that to their advantage. And I'm hoping we see a lot of lead changes through tonight's race with these guys battling back and forth.
Something tells me, given the rain, the dirty air, the high speed corners, the hard braking zones, we'll definitely be seeing some lead changes, but I don't think battling is going to be the only factor here because, as you know, when it comes to racing in this, it's wet. You have to push your braking zone out, what, like
Yep.
15, 20, almost 25 meters, depending on the amount of rain. And then you also got to factor in the wet tires. I do not envy the drivers. You guys have heard me say that before, but it really rings true on these kitchen sink rounds because you just you just don't know. We've got drivers that that couldn't qualify. We got just so many environmental factors, and we've got a car that is pretty much going to try and run like a stabbed rat. That I really really hope that these drivers have been really putting in the reps and getting plenty of practice in. But as I say that, I'm also remembering that there is random weather in here as well, if I'm not mistaken, Hovercraft. So, what people were able to do in qualifying or in practice may not fully translate into the race just because of that random weather element, right?
Absolutely. We are expecting a wet start and a wet end, but the middle of the race is really going to be anyone's guess. And the way this transformed the race is that each of these drivers are going to have to predict when the rain stops, when the dry line starts to form, just like in quali, but also possibly if the rain comes back earlier than everyone is expecting. And these drivers are going to have to make split second decisions and hopefully try to walk away tonight with a Not broken car and some extra points on the table.
Yep, and these points are going to matter as we are getting ready to head on track here. Waiting for these lights to turn on and turn off yet again. Drivers are lined up. The lights are coming on. I would say you can hear the engines roaring, but this is an electric car, so let's see how they shake up. And it looks like everybody's off, and it does look like we've got a little bit of a squirrely start for the second to last row. PSG Bells is leading the charge at the moment. We've got our rainometer almost 2/3 full as they come through turn one. We're 3 abreast and 4, maybe 5 abreast in some portions. These cars are all over each other right now and coming into the dreaded hairpin on these wet weather conditions. How are they going to take it? It's looking very dodgy for these drivers in the middle of the pack, and up at the front, PSG Bells, Luis, and VIP JP Scales are trying to get away from the havoc as fast as humanly possible. Taking a look at the POV of Robson as he comes through the bendy bits of the track heading into the tunnel. He's on the outside line at the moment. It looks like he's trying to make a move and carry that momentum to get past Rowdy Burns, who is up in P5. Taking a moment of reprieve in the tunnel and back out into the rain we go. Now, Robson is part of Team Beehive Racing. We saw him last round at Eiger Nordvand, where he finished in P8. Currently has 5 points overall and is sitting in P23 across both Friday and Saturday for Division B. Robson did get a little squirrely. Oh, go ahead.
He did. He started all the way in the back, too, and has already working his way up into P5 here after 1 lap.
Oh, wow. Then, yeah, that is a fantastic start from Robson. Taking a look at PDX Sim PSVR2, who is slingshotting to side-by-side action with Luis. He has the inside line, but it looks like Luis was able to carry momentum, and Robson just clatters Luis. Luis is able to hold on to the car, though. Thank goodness for that, but that surely has to lead to some damage for Robson and Luis. Taking a look, and it doesn't appear that there is any damage, so they got really lucky, but that is definitely not how you want to go about racing, especially in these conditions. Heading up into the tunnel as we stay on board with PDX Sim PSVR2. He is trying to get through and get past MK3TT, who is in P5. Coming into the bank for the final corner, he is trying to stay in the middle. Those tires are just screeching right now. Now, PDX Sim is part of the PDX Sim team, and we last saw him at Eiger Nordvand, where he finished in P1. Currently has 43 points overall and is currently P2 for Division B across Friday and Saturday. You can find him on YouTube at PDX Sim 1676. Making his way out of turn 1 and up towards the hairpin that is turn 2. He is still really he's just in the middle of the pack, and he doesn't really have a whole lot of options on where to go at this moment, does he, Hovercraft?
Exactly. You know, these guys are all just trying to survive these first few laps. Everything that they can do. Lyric holding the outside line, which turns into the inside line. Up ahead, Sin gets a little... Oh! Rowdy actually tries to cut underneath. Pushes Lyric a little bit. Makes him a little bit unsettled. And is able to take 7th place. But that doesn't let Rowdy go away too easily. Going into the final corner, he now has the straight. Has the slipstream to possibly fight back.
Thank you for that heads up there, Hovercraft. And yep, as we see, Lyric is trying to catch up to Rowdy Burns. That was a odd way to get around a car understeering, of course. So we'll have to let the stewards decide on how that all shakes up. Now, VIP Rowdy Burns is part of Team Victory and Performance Racing, and getting he went a little far to the right. That could have been catastrophic. Now, Rowdy Burns did finish P2 last round in Eiger Nordvand and is currently sitting with 17 points overall across Division B and sitting in P12. You can find him on YouTube at VIP_Rowdy Burns. As he comes through turn 3 and into turn 4, looks like Lyric is going to try and hold onto his racing line. Does he have enough slipstream to try and slingshot past Rowdy Burns as they come up through turn 5? Doesn't appear so. Jumping up over to MK3TT, who is almost side by side with Luis at turn 6. And onto the start-finish straight. Luis will keep that door closed, but MK3TT, as well as PDX Sim and Rowdy Burns and Lyric and others, are all just in one long train at the moment. So it looks like they're trying to capitalize on as much slipstream as humanly possible. Looks like PDX Sim will try and get the overtake done on the inside, and he's able to make it stick coming out of turn 1. He was side by side with Luis. Will Sim be able to get the overtake to stick as he comes into the hairpin of turn 2? Looks like Luis is holding on at the moment, but MK3TT just eked him out just ever so slightly, was able to grab P5. Now Sim is in P4, so MK3 is really going to have to figure out how he's going to go about getting around and getting P4 for himself. There is a gap of about a quarter of a second, but that is starting to change ever so slightly at this current moment. MK3TT is part of Team Wheelhouse Racing. We saw him last round in Eiger Nordvand, where he finished P5, has 17 points overall, and is sitting in P13 across both Friday and Saturday for Division B. Coming out of turn 6 and onto the start-finish straight and coming across the line to start lap 6, he's got a little bit of a gap between himself and Sim at the moment, and also one forming between himself and Luis, but they're all still within slipstream range, and this car, again, is very downforce reliant. As we see, a dry line is starting to form on the circuit. The intermediates are starting to look a little worse for wear. And speaking of tires, Slow-Mo, did we have anybody start on the wets, or is it intermediates throughout the grid?
Intermediates for everybody, top to bottom.
All right. So it looks like everybody was on the same page there, but looking at this tire degradation, Slow-Mo, and the dry line getting ever so wider, do you think they'll be coming to get on a fresh set of rubber here soon?
Yeah, I think they can stretch these intermediates for another 3-4 laps if they, kind of stay on the wet line like we're seeing some of these guys do. But as this track dries out, looks like Bells is going to go ahead and dip in and get his fresh set of tires now, where JP Scale has gone ahead and stayed out and taken the race lead.
Yep, and it looks like Z Eller is also going to opt to go into the pit. So that leaves Robson and JP Scale battling for the overall race lead at the moment. Robson's doing really well in the tire life department. Looks like he's hydro dipping his car or his tires where he can to try and preserve as much life as possible. Robson does platter the wall just a little bit, but it doesn't look like it slowed him down too terribly much. JP Scale is on the outside line. He is on the prime racing line as he comes into turn 3. Doesn't look like Robson will be able to try and capitalize at any point here in the near future. Oh, as I say that, Robson tries to blitz up and just really get all over the back of JP Scale. So Robson did take the overall racing line, but it looks like his tires may suffer that as a consequence. So JP Scale is in the lead as they come into turn 6, but not by much at this moment. So if Robson can keep this momentum going, then he'll be able to try and get the race lead off of JP Scale. But JP Scale just gets the better run out of turn 6. So now the gap is at about half a second. They are doing everything they can to try and keep up as PDX Sim, Lyric, and MK3 all go into the box. Fishtail will stay out, and that puts him at P3 for the time being. The gap between P2 and 3, I should throw out, is almost 8 seconds at this current juncture. JP Scale and Robson are going to try and do what I don't know, I would presume it's an overcut at this current time, as we see one hop onto the mediums. Robson is going to get side by side with JP Scale. No overlap, so we are good. Coming through turn 4 into turn 5, Robson's tires are really starting to give out now. I don't know, Hovercraft. I think it's going to be time for these two drivers to go into the pits and get onto some racing slicks.
Yeah, at this point, the tires are just screaming their voices out loud, and they want to be swapped off. As I say that, Robson with the high line, overtaking JP Scale right before they go into the pits. This is going to be a game changer.
This is going to be a big game changer, and if you take a look at the tire wear in the bottom left corner, you can see just how much it chopped down on that tire life just coming out of this one corner. Oh my goodness, JP's front right was gone by the time he got out of that. That was a beautiful move by Robson regardless. Coming out of the box, it is still going to be rather slick leaving the pits, but it looks like they will be able to get out without any hindrance. JP Scale opting to stay on the dry line as Robson goes up onto the wet line for a split second, and it looks like Sim is getting ready to just slingshot past these two like they are standing still. He's able to clear Robson and JP Scale and take P2. Now he does have quite the task ahead of him because Bells is sitting at almost 6 seconds ahead of the rest of the grid at the moment. As we see PDX Sim go into turn 4, we're going to jump over to Bells, who is heading into turn 5 and into the tunnel. He took the racing medium compound and is getting ready to head over to the high banks of turn 6. These are going to be interesting to see because parts of the track are going to dry later than others, and they're not even going to stay dry for all that long. Now, as we see Robson and JP Scale taking the low line coming through the final corner, they definitely decided to play it safe. As we see Sim taking the wet line coming through the start-finish straight, maybe trying to preserve the tires a little bit there, Slow-Mo? I didn't expect that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, anything they can do to stretch these tires out a little bit longer, like we talked about, they're not sure when the rain's coming, right? So you know how long you can go off mediums, but you know, what if the rain hasn't started or you haven't seen it on the on the radar yet, and you want to get another lap in? That little bit of cooling those tires down could go a very long way for these guys.
Oh, you are absolutely correct. Now, as we take a look at Robson, who is coming through turns 3 and 4, heading up towards the 5th turn, really giving this car everything he can. And Robson is currently shaving away his personal best lap and heading up towards the high banks, trying to stay on the dry line.
Has crashed.
Oh my goodness, yeah, and a 6-second penalty to boot. Let's see what happened here. So PHG Bells is coming through turn 5 and entering turn 6, staying on the low side of the bank, trying to hold on and stay on the dry line, but it looks like he just understeers and just 1 hit to the wall, 2 hits to the wall, 3 and 4, and that is a 6-second penalty, and 75% of his wheels are damaged now. So yeah, that is definitely into the box for Bells. That, oh my goodness. And he was leading the race for a good portion of this, as we see JP Scales and Robson also have wall penalties too. And I see damage on JP Scale. He's got front bumper and front right wheel damage, as well as Robson. I'm curious to see what happened here. And unfortunately, it looks like it happened while we were looking at the replay. So unfortunately, we can't tell. But yeah, that is just absolutely tragic to see. So that's going to be 2 more people going into the box. And yeah, the kitchen sink is flying, folks, as Lyric also has damage. These drivers have to be feeling some sort of way right now, but those that were able to narrowly avoid damage must be breathing a sigh of relief, or they'll be a little confused when they start catching up to the rest of the field. Now, Lyric has his front bumper and front right wheel damage. Robson, JP Scale, wow, I don't know what to make of this hovercraft. This is really interesting because I didn't expect so many drivers to just to get so much damage.
Yeah, you know, it's very easy to just slightly get off the dry line and going into that wet line, right? The racing lines are naturally on the high lines with these, with these banked corners, but during the opening laps of these slick tires, the racing line suddenly becomes the low line, the line that no one really practices, because in dry weather conditions, you never have to do that, right? But in in a wet turning back into the wet tires, these guys are going to have to adapt to the fly to using that dry line on the low line and getting the most out of their tires and out of their lap times that they can. While also, as we see Corridor going onto the wet line, they're doing this to be able to cool off their tires in between the corners.
Yeah, and cooling off those tires is really going to be beneficial for these drivers. Now, the sun is out for the time being, but once the random weather ends, we know how this is going to go. It's going to be right back to rain for these drivers. Now, one thing that is kind of vexing me is the difference in tires that we're seeing. So we've seen some take the mediums. We've also got at least a couple that I've noticed out of the corner of my eye on hards, but I haven't seen anybody take the soft compound. So I don't know what to make of all of that, hovercraft. Do you have any insight on why they might be avoiding taking the softs right now?
Well, as I say that, MK3TT goes onto the inside of Robson. Hopefully he can make a move before we get to the effective turn one. But going on to the tires, yeah, I think it's going to be based off what these drivers are thinking is when the rain comes back, right? I think the ones on the mediums are going to try to hope that the tires... Ooh!
Ooh, we've got a
Little bit of a
move
tap.
from MK3. I'm sorry, Hovercraft. Yeah, that we have quite the move by MK3. He was moving past Robson like he was standing still, and yeah, ooh, his medium. So they are playing a factor, but also at what cost? Those are looking a little worse for wear. But anyway, I'm sorry to interject. As you were saying.
Yeah, basically, the guys on the hards currently are thinking that the rain is going to come out way later. The guys on the mediums are thinking that the rain is going to come back a lot earlier. So that's why you're seeing a very large separation of tire strategies at the moment. But if I were in this race, I would have picked up a hards when the rain stopped coming down hard. So I think we're going to see the medium runners fall back a little bit in a few laps, for example, NK. But I also think that there is a possibility that that rain is going to come back a little bit earlier than what I think the hards were expecting.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, as we also see Corridor, who is giving a bump draft to Robson to try and catch up to P3 and P4 of MK3 and Lyric respectively. Coming up into turn 2, and Corridor is staying down as low as possible, trying to avoid any drama with the wall. Now, Robson, on the other hand, is going to have to start defending as we take a look at MK3, who does have front bumper damage at the moment and is now grouped up with himself, Lyric, Robson, and Corridor, and it's really anybody's race for the final step on the podium at the moment. The gap between this pack and PDX Sim, who is in P1 at the moment, is at about 16 seconds, so they are a ways off for now. Coming into the last corner, and MK3 is trying to take the dry line and hold on to his position, and it looks like he's able to skirt on by without any fuss this go around. Coming up towards turn 1, MK3 gives a bump draft to Lyric as they come into turn 1. It looks like they're also starting to catch up with P2 in VIP JP scale. MK3 has the slipstream, but will it be enough to make an overtake? No, he decides to bow out and takes the wet line real quick to cool off the tires for a moment. Coming through turn 2, and they are back in business. Everybody's single file, and it looks like MK3 is poking his nose out, trying to see if he can make a move for turn 3, but doesn't seem to be in his favor right now. Lyric does still have the damage, though, on his bumper and his wheels, so I don't know how much more Lyric can really do before MK3 and Robson and Corridor start really swarming him. Making our way over into turn 6 for the high bank one more time, and it looks like Robson and the rest of the group are starting to pull away from Corridor. But I think Corridor is still within slipstream range, so he'll be bunched right back up with them here in just a moment as they enter turn 1. These guys are really doing what they can to hold on to their positions and also gain ground. Looks like Robson is going to break away from the slipstream and try and take the high line on MK3. Was it the right move? I'm not 100% sure, but it does look like they carried quite a bit of momentum with that one. Into turn 2, and we've got a 3-for-1 special in the making for Corridor if he can play his cards just right. Doesn't look like there'll be any change-ups in the standings right now between the last podium step and P4, 5, and 6, so we're going to see how they go through turns 3, 4, and 5. Coming through turn 4, and Corridor's trying to get on the inside of Robson. He is really close and is definitely within bump drafting range to try and make a move. Coming through turn 5 and up towards turn 6. Looks like Robson's trying to break away, and will he try and go for a lower or higher line? No, it looks like he will try and stay on the bumper. MK3 does elect to go into the pits to get on a fresh set of rubber. Those mediums must have just decided to tap out right there, Slow-mo.
Yeah, they didn't look great. His front right was pretty much toast. He also had a little bit of front end damage, so he's going to stop in and get that fixed and get back out on track. Looks like I'm not sure exactly which tire compound he's taken, but
sorry, I'm going to interject real quick, Slow-mo. Corridor did get a 2-for-1 special done and is now in P3. He was able to get past Robson in turn 1 and was able to get past Lyric going into turn 2. Lyric's tires, though, are just absolutely shot now. His front left or his front right is just, it's non-existent anymore. But I'm sorry, as you were saying?
No, you're good. I was just going to say MK3 ended up taking the racing mediums. You know, in back to Corridor, he is on the racing hards. Those other guys are on the mediums. So as you see those mediums start to wear out, Corridor was able to make that fast work. Well done, Corridor.
Yeah, well done indeed to Corridor. Now, Robson does have the damage. His racing hards are looking a little worse for wear. Lyric will go into the box, so that's going to put Rowdy Burns into P5, Robson into P4. So, I'm sorry, Rowdy Burns into P4, Robson into P5. It looks like Rowdy Burns was able to get on past with the racing medium tires and the lack of damage. Going up and just kind of grazing the wet line to keep the tire temperatures under control. Rowdy Burns is doing what he can, but unless my eyes are playing tricks on me, those clouds are starting to roll back in, Hovercraft. I think we're going to be seeing rain here in the very near future.
Absolutely. I think Corridor and Robson did the correct decision in going onto the hards instead of the mediums. But I am very curious as to how Rowdy's strategy has played out, because he's on a set of mediums too, and his mediums have lasted way longer, as well as JP scales. So I'm wondering if these guys found a trick of navigating the dry lines with the medium tires to make them extend way further out than what some of the other drivers have been doing. So very interested in seeing how they were able to employ that technique throughout the race. As we see, Sim is also doing the exact same way, able to extend those mediums out far longer than what some of the other drivers were able to do. But yeah, we're going to be expecting some inters, possibly some heavy wets in a few laps times.
It's only a matter of time now before everybody has to get back into the pits and go and get onto those wet weather compounds. As we're taking a look at P1 coming up into turn 6, holding everything nice and neat, staying in the middle of the track, trying not to get any drama from the car or from the tires. And those clouds are looking very ominous. They have a very foreboding look about them, if you will. And the rain is coming on down at the start of lap 21. So these drivers are really going to have to start figuring out when they're going to box. Can they ride out the rain just a little bit, or will they be able to get into the box without any drama? As we see PDX Sim coming through turn 2 and up towards turn 3, everything seems to be holding on nicely, and it looks like the rain meter is starting to dance around just a little bit. As we see Sim come through turn 3 and up towards turn 4, he's holding a very nice line, was able to get the most life out of those racing medium tires, and was able to avoid getting any damage. He has a very healthy lead right now between himself and the rest of the field at almost 14 seconds. Coming through turn 6 for the 22nd time. And will Sim go into the box, or will Sim, nope, it looks like, he said no. He's going to go and run another lap on those mediums. Taking a look at JP Scale, who has a 5-second gap between himself and Corridor at the moment. Will JP be hopping onto some wet weather tires? It does not appear to be the case. So JP will run one more lap on the racing compound. Taking a look at JP coming up into turn 1. He's going to be taking the higher line at the moment. The car bottoming out on the bank and running down low, trying to carry as much momentum as possible to maximize on his overall speed as he comes up into turn 2. Will he keep a low line? Nope. He will kind of do a U maneuver. Go down and up and then down again. And Corridor is going to stay on the racing hards, up 500 or down 500s on his personal best time. So he's still finding ways to gain momentum and shave off that track time to try and get the illustrious bonus point for fastest lap within the top 10. The current fastest lap does go to Bells with a 102.395. And Corridor coming through turn 5 and into turn 6. Staying low at the moment. Will he try and go high? Does not appear to be so. So it looks like Corridor is going to just try and carry his momentum, and he is really closing that gap between himself and JP. It's getting lower and lower into the 4-second territory. And I think by the end of this lap, JP and Corridor are going to be within the 3-second mark. So we might be seeing these two battle it out either before or after the pits. JP, though, his tires just do not look good. I think it might be time to try and get inside and get on something else and try and get that damage taken care of, too. Slow-mo, in your observations of the drivers going into the pits, did anybody elect to get the damage repaired, or has everybody just been changing tires and then rocking with the damage?
No, everybody I've seen go into the pits has gone ahead and take that extra second and a half to get the damage fixed. So they're definitely trying to get themselves up to that highest top speed possible here on the track.
All right, thank you for that, Slow-mo. And let's see what JP Scales is going to do. JP Scales will be going into the pits. Was he able to get the... Oh, and Corridor was going to, but it looks like he changed his mind. So looks like Corridor, Rowdy Burns, Robson, and Z. Eller are going to stay out from what I can gather. But Rowdy really... I just don't know. He doesn't have a whole lot of tire life left on that front right side, and... Given the tire model hovercraft, do you think that was a wise decision from the VIP driver?
You know, I think he was expecting that the rain was going to come a little bit earlier or have already come down to be able to swap over to an intermediates, as we see JP Scale with 3-second penalty, most likely from the exit of the pit lane. But unfortunately, the call just didn't go their way, and I think they are having to pay the price right now. If he wants to go into the pits, he's probably going to come behind Robson and MK, and that may not be that great, especially once we see the rain come down. It's going to be notoriously difficult to get past on track once that rain starts hammering down.
Yeah, the rain is the great equalizer, and it will test your preparedness. Now, taking a look at Luis, who is hopping on the curbs, trying to cool those tires down and try and maximize the amount of life in them, which honestly is a brilliant maneuver, make no mistake about it. Luis is staying on the wet line at the moment, trying to hold on to as much tire life as possible and try not to make any unnecessary pit stops. Looks like Rowdy Burns will be going into the box, and actually is able to get out of the box before Luis can catch up. So now that will put Rowdy Burns about 2 seconds ahead of Luis, and he's on the intermediate tires. So it looks like the rain is starting to fully come on down here, or at least it will be in the very near future. Now, taking a look at Rowdy Burns, who now has to fend off two drivers in Bells and Luis, is doing a rather good job at the moment, trying to keep as much ground between them. But looks like Bells will be trying to make a move on the outside of Rowdy Burns. Will he make it stick, though? He goes on the outside for turn 3, and easy does it. He carries the momentum on the outside and is able to get around. And it looks like Luis is also going to be able to get around VIP Rowdy Burns. So that puts Bells into P6, Luis into P7. And looks like Rowdy Burns is just going to wait for the rain to kick up, and then... well, he'll be able to capitalize on anybody that wasn't able to cross the line on the wet tires. As Corridor comes through turn 2 and up towards turn 3 on lap 26, he's keeping it nice and neat. He's just really dancing gracefully around the circuit. He's making it look really easy, even though, well, we could say without a shadow of a doubt, it's definitely not. Sun's getting a little less noticeable, so these clouds are getting a lot heavier. Corridor is coming through into turn 6. Those racing hards have done everything they can, but these banks really kill the tire life on these cars. As we see Corridor coming across the line, he will stay on those racing hards at least a little bit longer. Coming up towards turn 1, will Corridor take a wet line to cool off the tires, or will he stay on the dry line? It looks like the dry line will be the answer for that question. And coming out on the high side and down towards turn 2, I think these drivers are enjoying some of the dry racing while they can. PDX Sim, still in P1, has a 20-second gap between himself, Corridor, and the rest of the field. And his tires aren't looking too great either, but he's doing everything he can from the looks of it to preserve the tire life. And coming up towards the start-finish line, is he going into the box? He is! So our race leader is in the box. I did see one driver hop on the heavy wet. Corridor coming around turn 5 and up into the final corner of turn 6 is keeping a relatively low line and trying to avoid any fuss, and is electing to not hop on to a wet compounded tire. So I think Corridor's, I don't know, Slow-Mo, I think Corridor's being a gambling man right now.
Yeah, I think he is. You know, and as we go back to our leader here, you know, I just wanted to say what an absolute clinic PDX Sim put on that set of medium tires. I mean, he had more tread left than the people who had switched and already gone onto a different set of mediums. Just absolutely incredible. He has gone ahead and gone to the full wet now for the end of the race. So you'll watch that rain meter down in the left-hand corner there by the tire tracker. That is going to start to rise as this rain starts to fall, and it looks like it's coming down pretty good.
Oh yeah, we can hear it clattering off the concrete, off the announcer's booth, and off the car. So this has got to be an interesting perspective for Sim, because he is part of the PSVR2 army, and so he's going to be seeing the car doing the windshield wipers and everything. Now, Corridor does go into the box before the rain gets too dastardly. VIP JP Scales, who is on the intermediates, will hopefully have enough time to try and catch up to Corridor so he can battle for that P2 spot. Coming through the tunnel and in through turn 5, he's got about a 1.5 second gap between himself and his teammate in Rowdy Burn. Corridor is leaving the box now. The rain is starting to come down a little more at the start of lap 29. We're only 4 laps away from the end of this race, and it is really going to be interesting to see how this all shakes up. We've got a plethora of drivers that are on the wet weather tires, and Slow-Mo, do we have anybody that's still on the racing compounds?
No, everybody is on intermediates or wets at this point.
All right, so looks like we won't see anybody caught out by the rain. We can all breathe a sigh of relief for that. As we take a look at MK3 Double T WHR coming into turn 2, Robson is trying to blitz on through. He's carrying an insane amount of speed, and Robson's going to do everything he can to try and get past the WHR driver before turn 3. Will it be enough, though? Robson has the inside line, but it doesn't look like he was able to carry as much momentum, so MK3 will hold on to P5 at the moment, coming through turn 4 and into the tunnel for P5. Yep, he's starting to pull away just a little bit from Robson, but I don't think Robson's going to take that one lying down. This rain is really coming down now, folks. Now coming up into turn 6, and it's interesting. They're trying to keep control of the car. The car is not wanting to cooperate, especially with these heavy wet tires. Honestly, I don't know. Hovercraft, do you think the rain warrants the heavy wets? We've got 3 laps left, but we're not at that top third of the rainometer yet.
Well, looking at the rainometer, we are almost there. Not even a pixel separating the two. And I think we will see a little bit of the heavy wets really coming into play, as I say that Robson is just putting so much pressure on MK. I think MK also hit the wall there towards the exit, allowing Robson to make a run down the inside, going into effective turn 2. Does he get late on the brakes? No, he doesn't have to, because MK goes a little bit wide.
Yep, and MK does go a little bit wide, but it looks like he's able to carry enough momentum to fend off Robson, but Robson will try to do the old switcheroo and is able to get the inside and get P5 with a cutback maneuver. Coming up through turn 5, will Robson be able to hold on, or will MK3 have a retort as they come through the final corner? It looks like Robson is just really walking away from MK3 at the moment. MK3 is on the intermediates. Granted, they are a little worn intermediates, but that's going to be all to the benefit of Robson. And it looks like Robson is just going to walk right on past VIP Rowdy Burns. Robson is driving like a man on a mission right now. Good on him. He has been battling all over the place and just making it look super easy. Coming up towards turn 2, and I just can't make heads or tails of it. Now, as we jump on board with our race leader, who is looking at some lap traffic, back markers in IORT, Fishtail, and Luis. And looks like he is trying to find a way to get around P9. He got around P10 without really any fuss or bother. And it looks like Luis might be letting him through. I can't tell for certain. Luis does go on the high line, which would open the opportunity for Sim to try and get around, but looks like Sim will stay behind P9 for a little bit longer. As they come up towards turn 3, Sim is doing what he can to carry his momentum. He has an astronomical 27-second gap between himself and P2. He is just walking away with this race at the moment. Sim is able to get around Luis as they enter the tunnel and head into turn 5. And it looks like Sim is going to just carry on with business as usual. He's looking a little low in the battery department, but is able to carry on just fine. It looks to me that he was using every last bit of the hybrid system in this car. Now, taking a look over at Corridor in P2, who has a full hybrid drive system at the moment. And yep, I can see where we are now in full wet territory. Coming through the tunnel without any fuss or bother for Corridor. He is about 7.25 seconds ahead of VIP JP Scale. He is 28 seconds behind PDX Sim as we near the end of the penultimate lap. So I think Corridor is able to confidently hold on to P2 and really just focus on finishing the lap in a nice, neat fashion. Now jumping back on board with PDX Sim, who is rounding the third turn for the final time and heading up into turn 4. He's just ran an absolute masterclass on driving this car, and I honestly can't wait to pick his brain on how he made it look so easy. Coming through turn 5 and into turn 6, PDX Sim is still ahead of Luis. Looks like Luis is trying to hold on to some slipstream range from the overall race leader to try and put a further gap. As the checkered flag drops, PDX Sim will come across the line with P1, and Luis comes in P9 with... I didn't see the checkered flag next to... Okay, interesting. So, got P10, and taking a look over at Corridor, who is coming across the line for a confident P2 finish. Round the corner, no fuss or bother, didn't really want any theatrics, and coming across the line, and the nightmare that is the kitchen sink round is over for Corridor, and it looks like VIP JP Scale will run uncontested for P3 for this race. Robson, who just gained so much ground this race, takes a resounding P4. Taking a look at PHG Bells, who is currently in P5 at the moment, has to fend off Rowdy Burns and MK3, but looks like Bells will have the lead on that. Taking a look over at Z Eller, who is getting ready to cross the line. It looks like Luis was able to unlap himself at the last moment from PDX Sim and is able to run one final lap. Comes across the line and takes a confident P9. Taking a look over, and PHG Lyric will be rounding us off, and that is everybody for round 3 of Division B. What a race we saw. Congratulations to PDX Sim, who gained 3 places to take the overall race victory. Now let's go and take a look at the provisional classified race results. So, taking the overall race victory, but not the fastest lap of the race, will be PDX Sim PSVR2 with an overall race time of 36 minutes, 7 seconds, .972. Coming in P2 will be Corridor, down 28 seconds, and had a best lap of 103.652. Rounding out our podium for this evening and taking the fastest lap bonus point will be VIP JP Scale, who had the fastest lap of the race with a 101.378. I didn't even know the lap times could get that low. Making our way down the grid, we have Robson and PHG Bells rounding out our top 5, followed by VIP Rowdy Burns taking P6, followed by MK3TTWHR, with Z Eller sitting in P8. Making our way to the other part of the grid will be Luis in P9, who unlapped himself at the final moments, and IRT Fishtail rounding out our top 10, with Lyric rounding out our racers for this Division B race. So, Hovercraft, what a race we just saw. That was a masterclass. That was action-packed. It was drama-filled. What do you make of what we just saw?
I think seeing on board with some of these drivers, especially someone like PDX Sim, I think this was very much a tire race, right? Very much geared towards the drivers that are able to absolutely utilize what their tires were able to give them without making them scream so much, right? And it's so important on these kind of oval type circuits, right? Very reminiscent of real life NASCAR, where it seems so simple, right? It's just a bunch of left corners, and you use the banking, but the small little differences in inputs, 1 to 2 degrees of a steering angle, really makes all the difference on how long these drivers were able to make their tires last. And we saw the ones that were able to do that the best be able to finish out the race towards the front.
It was it was really a grueling test for these drivers, and yeah, the ones that were prepared really prevailed. Slomo, what do you think of what we saw for this race? It was definitely unique. Arguably a first in NRL history from qualifying to the finish.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't know that we've ever seen such a small qualifying grid out there, but what a great race. I mean, PDXM did a wonderful job managing his tires through that. And, like really, like Hover said, it came down to timing. Some of these guys timed it very well. Some of the other guys maybe didn't time it quite as well. And that really, really seemed to be a big difference for them in their finishing positions.
Yeah, they did just a wonderful job, and they really kept at least me on the edge of my seat. But enough of our bantering. Let's go and have a word with our race winner in PDX Sim. Sim, you made that look absolutely easy. You made it look like you were doing it in your sleep. How on earth did you go about practicing and getting to a position where you could just run away with the race, both metaphorically and literally?
Well, thanks to the PDX Sim team and helping me out. We did a lot of practice for this one. I'm not great at this course, but try to put in enough time to where we can make that happen. And was able to get it done today. Unfortunately, our buddy Bells, I think he would have had the win if it wasn't for that crash. He was flying. So, but yeah, it worked out again for me. I got lucky.
Yeah, you definitely had Lady Luck smiling upon you, and yeah, you just made it look so routine. And all I can do is applaud you. Congratulations for that
Thank
race
you.
victory.
Appreciate it.
Uh, Hovercraft, any questions for our race winner?
Congratulations, Sim. This was a wonderful race. Really, as Toon said, just a masterclass. And overall, I think it was very interesting seeing how you took a lot of these corners with you had a lot of discipline with your steering inputs, and that's how you were able to get those
Thank you.
mediums go so far compared to everyone else on the grid. You made the mediums go as far as some people on the hard. So great job tonight.
Thank you.
These points are really going to pretty much solidify you into going to finals, but that doesn't
Yes.
that doesn't take away from your performance today. Really,
All
really
right.
great drive. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. And Slummo, do you have any questions for our race winner today?
Yeah, no questions. Just congratulations to the PDXM team and well done representing them today. Two in a row. Looks like you're starting a new trend. Hopefully, you can add a couple more to that tally, and that would wrap it up for you, huh?
Yeah, that's what I'm shooting for. That's what I'm shooting for, boys. Hopefully, I'll see you guys 2 more times. What I'm going for. So
Well,
appreciate
you'll
it
be seeing
all.
me you'll be seeing me three more times because I'll be talking to you
Oh
on
yeah,
Sunday.
that's right. That's right, buddy. Can't wait for that one. It's gonna be a fun one. Thanks again to everybody. It was a great race, and yeah, fun times, man.
All right. Thank you so much, Corridor. Now let's go and have a quick chat with our finisher in Corridor. Corridor, you had quite the interesting turn of events for this race. If I recall correctly, you weren't able to qualify, but you were able to make up quite a bit of ground, and definitely you honestly you made it look easy too. I don't know what you guys did, but Were there any obstacles you guys had to overcome when it came to practicing for this race, just given the fact that there was random weather in the mix?
Hello, guys. Um, to be honest, I don't know what happened. During the first few laps, I lost so many positions. I was P last, I think, by lap 4. And at that point, I thought my race was over. I thought my wish of driving alone all by myself was filled, and I would just be in the last place for the rest of the race. But at some point, I started to see people fighting, people having penalties, others crashing, and I said, okay, maybe I have a chance. And I don't know how I did it, but I climbed from P last to P2. So very happy with that, especially seeing the total domination from PDX team. P2 feels almost like a race win.
Yeah, I didn't know you started in P last. That makes this even more impressive.
I
My
started
goodness.
P5, but I went to
Oh,
P
P5.
last within 3 or 4 laps. Yeah. I just didn't have
Ah,
pace at the beginning. I lost all positions.
yeah. I mean, hats off to you. You made some miracles happen. Over to you, Hovercraft.
Pues, Corridor, vamos a hacer eso otra vez en español. Yo sé que probablemente usted fue esperándolo, pero primero felicidades con el segundo. Fue magnífico. Yo sé que usted tenía problemas en las últimas primeras vueltas, especialmente en la primera 3 y 4, pero el segundo medio de la carrera usted fue facilito, el segundo más rápido piloto aquí, solo atrás de Sim. Pero yo quería preguntar, en medio de la carrera, como vueltas 11, 12, 13, más o menos por ahí, cuando usted fue peleando con los otros 3 carros, si me recuerda, fue MK, Rowdy, Robson, y fue una más que no me recuerda, si me recuerda bien, fue el
Lyric.
Lyric.
Yeah.
Sí. ¿Qué fue pensando, especialmente cuando usted empezó o cuando llegaste a esos pilotos? Usted fue la última en ese tren con los Racing Hearts. ¿Qué fue pensando en esos momentos?
Yo iba detrás de ellos y yo vi la manera en que ellos iban conduciendo y sabía que sus llantas no iban a durar hasta la vuelta 28 en que llegara la lluvia. Así que yo estaba esperando que volvieran a entrar a los pits a cambiar llantas o que definitivamente sus llantas estuvieran destruidas y yo tener buena goma en mis llantas duras y poder pasarlos. Yo no los iba a atacar, pero si veía que cometían cualquier error, por supuesto que los iba a pasar y fue lo que hice.
Sí, no, absolutamente. Yo creo que usted yo creo que usted paró solo antes de Sam. Yo creo que usted fue uno de los últimos pilotos que entró a la pit. So,
Sí,
usted
creo que yo
manejó.
fui el último. Sí.
Sí, usted manejó, sí, no, usted sí fue el último, discúlpeme. Usted manejó buenísimo en esos hards, tenía el pace y no mató los llantas muy rápido, pero obviamente usted terminó tercero el último carrera y yo no fui ahí, obviamente, so yo no podía hablar con tú en español, pero qué bien que yo tenía esa chance de hablar con tú y espero que yo pueda hablar otra vez la próxima semana y tal vez en los finales. So, correo hoy, usted manejó buenísimo y espero que yo miro otro más el próxima carrera. So, buenas noches.
Muchas gracias. Buenas noches.
All right. Thank you so much, Corridor. And congratulations again. Slummo, do you have anything for our second place finisher?
Just congratulations from me. Great run out there, Core. Obviously, as you guys talked about, you worked your way towards the back and was really able to make up some great ground. So kudos to you. Looking forward to seeing what you're going to be able to do for us in the next round as well.
Thank you very much, Slomo.
All right. And with that being said, everybody, we're going to take a brief intermission. And when we come back on the other side, we will have our Division A race. So please make sure you go take a moment, get a snack, use the bathroom, get a drink, whatever it is you need to do. And we will be right back at you here in a few minutes.
Witness a lakefront transformation right here in the Point. And you may not believe it, but just last year, this home was down to its bed.
Hi, I'm Mark Goldstein, and welcome to Hankey's. We are located in the heart of Old Town Florissant, 901 North Lafayette, a few blocks down from Sacred Heart Church and Hendel's Market Cafe. This local establishment started in 1926. The Hankey's family bought the bar from the Schraders in 1955. And then turned into what it is today, Hankey's Tavern. And in 2021, a group of local investors became owners of Hankey's Tavern. Recently, we went from a dirt pile to a full-fledged patio, which has bags and washers, entertainment on Friday, Saturday night, which we hope to extend that. We have extended our kitchen hours, which is a request for many, many years. And we do have draft beer back after a 12-year lull of no draft beer. We have brought that back with Budweiser as our mainstay, since this was a Budweiser bar in 1926, right before Prohibition.
We're still doing the crinkle cut fries and our cheeseburger platters, but now we have a couple new creative ideas that our kitchen staff has came up with. So come in and try our homemade chicken lollipops. We smoke them fresh daily and then fry them and top them with a Asian butter sauce, and then topped with green onions as well. That's our biggest hit right now that we have on our menu. Each and every day we make fresh sauces, and we take pride in that. We feel like we have a very good variety of sauces that pair well with our appetizers. Whether you want to come in here for lunch with just you and a buddy, or you want to come in here with you and your whole group of people, whether it's 20 people, 200 people, we feel like we can accommodate everyone and anybody.
As of this year, we've done something that it hasn't happened in the history of this establishment. We do accept credit cards. We established a Hankey's Helps non-for-profit organization that reaches out to friends in need. Hankey's is a community bar. We have a lot of the regulars from years past still attending. We have a lot of the regulars that have left our area that are coming back in droves to see what's going on. Hours of operation is from 11 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. The kitchen hours are from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 11 a.m. till 9 p.m. Find out more information about Hankey's on our Hankey's Facebook page, Hankey's Tavern. We put the band, when the bands are going to be here, the events are going to be here. Come join us at Hankey's Tavern for a burger and a beer. You'll enjoy all the new items that we have, and you'll enjoy all our new improvements. So we look forward to seeing you in the future. Again, join us on our Facebook page, or you can call us at 314-386-1525 to get a carry-out order, or if you have any questions.
Welcome back, everybody. We had an intense and overall insane Division B race tonight, and the insanity and the action is only going to carry on for, well, our Division A race, which is going to be coming right up. So without any further ado, let's go and take a look at what our drivers will be up against after the standings. Taking a look at the provisional standings for Friday Division B, leading the charge is PDX Sim PSVR2 with an astounding 68 points so far for the season. Coming in P2 is Corridor with 48 points, with VIP JP Scale rounding out our top 3 with 44 points. Making our way down the order for Friday Division B, we have VIP Righty Burns with 25, MK3 Double T with 23. We have Sugar Shuffles with 22, followed by Captain Slow with 22 as well, in a tie for P6. We have IORT Fishtail in P8 with 18 points, followed by Robson with 17. Rounding out our top 10 is Z Eller with 15 points, followed by Lyric in P11 with 13. Bells currently sits in P12 with 12 points, and we have Luis with 4 points. And rounding out our Division B drivers for Friday is MD Hop with -1 point. So we're down to the wire here. These drivers are probably feeling the pressure, but that's for Division B to worry about. We need to shift our focus over to Division A, and let's see what our drivers are contending with. Yes, that's right, folks. We are over in America, in California, for the streets of Willow Springs. Our drivers will be driving the KTM Crossbow R 2012 version for 25 laps. They will have 16 times tire wear, 5 times fuel consumption, a refueling speed of 2 liters per second on the Sports Soft, Sports Medium, and Sports Hard tires with no required tires. They will have a 10-minute qualifier, a grid start with false start check, BOP will be on, and they will have to contend with heavy damage. Now I think it's time we jump back to Slow-Mo in the points corner to refresh our memory on how all this works.
Yeah, thank you so much, Toon. So again, the drivers are fighting for 14 total positions in the final, and that's between Friday and Saturday. In order to get there, they have to accrue as many points as possible tonight's race, and every race they will have the ability to get 25 points for the race win, 18 points for second place, 15 for third, and you see the points go down the line from there. If the driver has the fastest lap and is also in the top 10, they can gain 1 extra bonus point to help get them towards that coveted spot in the finals.
Thank you, Slow-Mo. Making our way over to the driver lineup for this race. We have a higher place, Alicos 1, Audgie the Squirrel, Bacon Dance, Detrue Serum, Drobo, Flopster, Hondo, IORT Azriel, Moose 21, Negative Waves, S7R's Wid, Shred, and VIP Left to Pass You. Listed next to their names once again is their Twitch and or YouTube information, whichever is relevant. Please feel free to go and take a look at these drivers who are more than likely streaming their perspective of the race. But if you do, make sure you leave this tab open and unmuted so you don't miss any of the racing action. Oh boy, Willow Springs. Another very polarizing track, but I will say, the car that they are racing around it in, honestly, is a perfect fit. The KTM Crossbow is such a fun little track day car, and before I elaborate any further, I would like to take a moment to say thank you to Luis for the $7 Canadian donation. Your support means everything to us. We are happy to have you both watching and also racing in this illustrious racing promotion. So thank you once again, Luis. And yeah, so KTM, great car. Sports tires, also a fine choice for a track day car. Slow-Mo, it is going to be a bit of a dusty track, though. That dirt can really take you from glory to catastrophe in a split second. What do you think we'll be seeing this race?
I think you nailed it. You're going to see some dust flying. You might see some cones flying as well as these guys navigate this track. You know what's most exciting for me is getting back to a combustion engine with some of that engine noise, personally.
You know, the engine noises will be nice, and yeah, I think, I don't know, Hovercraft, do you think the drivers on the Division A side will have a easier time with their car and track combination than the Division B drivers, or do you think this pairing has its own set of hurdles?
I think overall, yes, the Division A side has it harder, but more kind of on an average, if you get what I mean. Like the Division B side had a harder peak of difficulty when the rain was coming down and they were, really close bumper to bumper and side by side and having to navigate ever-changing conditions. But the Division A side, while it isn't as difficult at its peak over the entire race distance, it's going to be on average more difficult than the Division B race.
You did really hit the nail on the head on that one. Thank you for that, Hovercraft. As we take a look at S7R's good old Witabuddy, who is leading the charge on the outlap for this qualifier, taking everything nice and neat, coming up towards the top of the circuit, and is just trying to keep everything moving in a smooth fashion, trying to get the car settled in, tires up to temperature, and finish the outlap for a nice and roaring hot lap. So as we got Wid getting ready to come across the line here in a moment to start his outlap, kicking up quite a bit of dirt and sending a traffic cone off into Narnia, as well as Bacon Dance. He sends 2 off. So these traffic cones, don't let them fool you. History has shown that if you hit one of those traffic cones just right, you're going to be catching some unexpected air, and who knows what that could spell for us. Making our way up to turn 2 for S7R's Wid, getting a little close to the edge, but is able to reel it back on in and onto the circuit as he gets up towards the S's. Really taking it delicately, which is probably for the best. Now, these tires are also a little less grippy than their racing compatriots, but they do have exponentially more life. As we see Wid hitting the banks, he's trying to keep a tight line coming through in a late apex. S7R Wid is part of Team Sector 7 Racing. We last saw him last round at Sardinia Road A, where he won the whole thing. Currently has 56 points in total and is also getting very squirrely right now, but is able to reel the car in. Current overall standing for Division A is P1, and you can find him on Twitch at Witabuddy. Keeping the car in control as best as possible. Wow, it is really trying to run away from him, isn't it, Slummo? The rear end is doing everything it can to try and step on out from him.
Yeah, a little bit light on the vehicle. I mean, trying to get that power down and get it going as quickly as you can, but it can get a little slippery, especially on those sport softs.
And you would think the sport softs would have a little more going for them, seeing as how they are the grippiest of the sport compound tires. As we take a look at IORT Azriel, who is currently sitting in P8 for qualifying. He is part of Team Infinite Octane Racing and also has Bacon Dance trying to maneuver on through. And looks like Bacon Dance goes for a drift, and was he able to save it? He was, but wow, that's really going to put a damper on his overall race time for the qualifying lap. And I did hear some honking going on. I don't know if that was out of frustration or out of apology, or maybe just saying hi to the camera. Looks like Bacon Dance is going to pull off to the side and let the other drivers go on through, from what it would seem. Bacon Dance is letting all the others go past as he goes off track for a moment. Bacon Dance is a free agent. We saw him last round at Sardinia, where he rounded out our podium in P3. Currently has 30 points overall and is sitting in P6 across Friday and Saturday for Division A. As we got Bacon Dance coming around, trying to scrub off this lap and start anew. Let's see if he can try and challenge Wid for the pole position. He is only down by not even 2/100ths of a second. So really, it's anybody's game when it comes to starting out at the front of the pack. As he starts making his way up towards the S's, Bacon Dance is trying to keep everything nice and neat and drama-free. Taking a nice line and really feathering onto the throttle from what I can see. Not trying to hammer on right away. Maybe due to the overall characteristics of the car and the tires, Bacon Dance is up by a 1/10 on the overall fastest lap for qualifying. So if he's able to carry this momentum, he's going to be setting a 1:12.1 and maybe even lower if he's able to carry that momentum. This is a very flowy track, and honestly, I can't wait to see how it all shakes up. Bacon Dance is purple by almost 0.2 of a second at this point, so it's really looking like it's coming up in his favor. Let's see if he can carry on, cutting the last corner just a little bit to try and get a little more speed. And as he makes his way across the line, he is up by 0.1 on the dot from his time versus Wid. Taking a look at a higher place who starts a new hot lap. Let's see how a higher place will fare. Beautiful S7R livery on that crossbow, mind you. A higher place is part of Team Sector 7 Racing. Saw him last round at Sardinia, where he finished P4. Got 23 points overall for the season and is sitting in P8 across Friday and Saturday. So if the season were to end after this race, then he'd be making his way up to the finals. A higher place is dashing on by, I believe that was Azrael, and up towards the top of the circuit onto the bank. Keeping it low, will he try and go for a higher line? It does not appear to be so. So a higher place goes for the lower line. Making his way out to start the second half of the circuit, and now he's got to dance around the, twisty nature of the second half of the track, and is able to hold on to it just fine. It is very easy to let the car get away from you there, and looks like he was able to cut both corners just enough to be able to carry that momentum even further, and coming across the line with a new purple time, a 112.155. So we're seeing everybody duke it out for these top times and for that pole position. Hovercraft, what do you think?
Fantastic lap by a higher place. Obviously great laps by Bacon Dance and Wid. They're really, as you said, they're just dancing on the limit, right? Trying to move left and right, up and down like a roller coaster to get the maximum grip from these tires that they possibly can, while trying to also navigate some of the off-track, mini excursions, right? You can gain a little bit of time if you just cut some of the dirt across some of these apexes.
Yeah, and these apexes, especially with how this car is handling it, definitely needs as much momentum and as much help as possible. This car is, in a sense, a little too powerful for these tires, but I think that's what really helps bring that charm to this combination. These cars are very fun to drive in the game, and honestly, I wouldn't mind getting on an actual circuit with one of these myself. Now, taking a look at the overall delta, I do see that these times are very close so far. A higher place is currently in the box, but is still leading the charge. But that time between Bacon Dance and a higher place, that's only 0.04 of a second, folks. That's blink and you'll miss it territory. So it's a coin toss on who's going to take pole position. We've only got a little under 2 minutes left of this qualifying session, and I can't really figure out who's going to come out on top on this one. As we take a look at Flopster, who does the spot of rally crossing, but is able to hold on to the car. Unfortunately, is off his current best lap by almost half a second, so I don't think we'll be seeing any records broken with this lap from Flopster. But Slow-Mo, what do you think of how tight this grid is so far?
Oh, it's very tight. You see about a half-second difference between P1 and 7. These guys are still, got time to get a couple more laps in here. So possible to see that delta drop even a little bit lower from the guys even behind P7.
Yeah, and as we take a look at S7R's The True Serum, we last saw him last round where he took P2 at Sardinia. Currently has 23 points overall and is sitting in P7 across both Friday and Saturday. So Truth is looking in prime position right now in terms of where he is in finals contention. Now, Truth is slowly shaving off time on his personal best lap, but not going purple quite yet. But as we see him near the tail end of the circuit and up towards the bank up at the top, he's down a tenth, so he's trying to build some momentum. Now, the gap between himself and a higher place is over half a second, so he's got to get into a rhythm really quick if he's trying to get pole position. Now, as we see, Truth, as I'm looking at this, Truth is actually close to shaving time off and maybe being able to dethrone P7 off of Shred if he can carry any more momentum through the last part of this circuit. Cutting the corners, trying to maximize his speed, rounding the final corner. Will he be able to get a last-minute miracle coming across the line? And he does. He's able to dethrone Shred by 0.04 of a second. Lobster dethrones Alicos by 0.02 of a second. And Bacon Dance is down on his personal best time by 1,000th of a second. That is consistency. Taking a look over at Wid, doesn't look like he was able to go and reclaim the pole position, so we'll have to see how he fares in the race proper. These drivers definitely did what they could in the 10 minutes for this qualifying session, and I don't know, Hovercraft, I think we're going to be in for quite a treat. But before then, let's go and take a look at the classified qualifying results. So taking pole position will be a higher place with a 111.802. Taking P2 will be Bacon Dance with a 112.195, a little over of a quarter of a second. Rounding out our top 3-4 qualifying is going to be S7R's Wid, followed by Negative Waves and Flobster, rounding out our top 5. We've got Alicos taking P6 with a personal best of a 112.466, and coming in just a little over 100th of a second behind him is going to be Shred, followed by S7R's The True Serum in P8. Making our way down the grid, we've got Darken Azrael in P9 with Hondo rounding out our drivers for this Division A race. But yeah, Hovercraft, given what we've seen from qualifying, it is a rather tight grid, and this is a car that you're going to have to be rather delicate with. What do you think is going to be some of the keys to success for the drivers on this one?
Personally, I think it's going to be very much kind of just keep it in there, right? Not very easy to overtake around here. Those cars are small, to be fair, but the track is equally as small. So there isn't really a lot of alternate lines. There isn't really a lot of passing lines. So I think what we're going to see here is that if you want to overtake, the main way you have to do it is by disrupting the guys ahead of you, their line, right? Try to nudge into the apex a little bit faster than the other guy, right? Make him get off of his throttle a little bit later. Make him feel disturbed, make him feel unsettled. That way you at least have some sort of run into the next corner to try to contest the overtake, because that's going to be the only way you can overtake here. There isn't really a straight turn one is really your best in terms of the traditional, hop into the slipstream and make an overtake. But besides that, even then, it's going to be a very tight line going into that turn one. It's not really going to be realistic, but we may see is the strategy from the little birds that talk to me before every round tells me that the strategy is going to be 12 laps on the sports softs to go over to the end of the race, but some of these guys may try a sneaky undercut, so that's what we may see.
I am curious to see what undercut territory will look like for these drivers and what overcut territory will look like for some of these drivers, because as you did mention, overtaking opportunities are going to be at quite the premium. So I don't think we'll be seeing too much of that. But I don't know, Slomo, what do you think of what we've got in store? And do you have any speculations on how this is going to shake up?
Wow. There's some big hitters up there in the top. Obviously, we've seen Wid win a lot of races. So starting in P3, certainly he's going to try and get himself up to the lead. Let's see if Higher and Bacon Dance can hold him off. I think that's going to be a big tail for today's race. And Hover did a great job kind of explaining not a whole lot of room out here. They're going to have to make some magic happen to try and get passes done, unless the driver in front of them makes a mistake and gives positions away.
Yeah, and just for reference, there are 14 turns on this circuit, and honestly, you've got 14 opportunities to try and make something happen, but these drivers do have 14 chances for this to go wrong on any given lap. So it's going to be dicey, but it is going to also be exhilarating for us watching here at home. And I can't wait to see what they have in store for us. It's going to be really, it's going to be another one for the history books, just like with the last race for our Division B drivers. And I just don't know what to expect. I'm really leaning towards what Hovercraft said with the overtaking opportunities. Yeah, it's pretty much the Nürburgring of the desert when you think about it, because this layout is it's not as easy as it would appear. It's really twisty, and the only way to learn how to do it is by watching these drivers who are lined up on the grid right now. Horns a blaring, singing us a tune while they wait for the lights to go on and then off. I do see a higher place did shift up into second. The lights are on and everybody is off and away for round 3. Ooh, tire squealing at the start of the race. That's going to slow a couple of them down, but everybody is off to the races and we are underway for our 3rd round. So they are bunched up right now, coming up into turn 1, and my goodness, Bacon Dance was just right there from the rip. Coming up through turn 2 and into turn 3. A higher place is trying to pull away from Wid and Bacon Dance. Looks like a slight nudge between Wid and Bacon Dance at the moment. Looks like a bit of a retort, but this is all giving a higher place prime time to get away from the rest of the field and kind of settle in for the first of 25 laps on this race. I do see that we have quite a bit of drivers on the Sport Soft compound, as we see Bacon Dance in P3 having the inside line coming through turn 8, trying to fend off negative waves. Bacon Dance is trying to stay on the chuff of Wid to get that slipstream and not lose sight of any cars in front of them. We have a bit of a conga line forming right now for our drivers who are trying to settle in and get their tires up to race temperature. Taking a look over at Hondo, who is at the tail end of this line and gets a little squirrely coming through turn 13 and into turn 14, but is able to hold onto the car and get back going. That does set him back a little over half a second behind the driver in S7R, the True Serum. Now, Hondo is part of Team Wheelhouse Racing. Saw him last round at Sardinia A, where he finished P12. Currently has 5 overall points for the season and is sitting in P24. You can find him on YouTube at hondo.h. Now, Hondo does have a bit of a tricky task ahead of him. He does have, some cars to get past and has to contend with a lack of overtaking opportunities, unlike a higher place who is at the front of the charge and is coming through turn 8 with about a half-second lead over Wid and Bacon Dance, as well as Negative Wave, Flopster, Alico, Shred, et al. So a higher place just needs to keep everything moving in a calm fashion and try to spare us any theatrics lest he goes off into the dirt, because as you may have noticed, folks, there is no Armco here to stop you. So if you go off, you are going off and you're most likely going to get reset. And with how tight this grid is at the moment, that's not going to cost you 1 position or 2 positions. That's going to cost you probably all of them, depending on where you get reset on the track. Taking a look at Negative Waves, who's in P4 at the start of lap 3, coming through turn 2. He's gaining on Bacon Dance at the moment, but getting a little bit squirrely. So he's got room to get moves done. He's definitely accelerating and trying to find a room to get past Bacon Dance and get up side by Wid, but I don't know. I can't tell if tires will play a factor in all of this. Slow-mo, what did our drivers start on for this one?
Yeah, everybody on track started Sport Soft here, Jim.
All right, so just like with last race, everybody is starting on the same compound, so that's going to make really speculation a non-factor here. But we are towards the tail end of lap 3. The drivers are heading towards turn 9 and getting ready to make their way towards the start of lap 4. And Hovercraft, what do you think of the start we've had so far?
It's really impressive to see Wid getting a much stronger, launch off the line. As I say that, Bacon Dance tries to get really close into Wid's mirrors on that final corner to try to upset him, but regardless, Wood does get a better launch off the line, allowing him to propel himself into P2. But Bacon Dance did have a response for at least a little bit, but Wood was able to take the position fully by the end of lap 1.
Yep, and Wid is going to be holding on to that position as much as humanly possible. He's got Bacon Dance in tow, as well as Negative Waves, who is very anxious to try and make some moves. Bacon Dance is holding off Negative Waves quite magnificently, but they are getting a little squirrely as they come out of turn 6. So that may be the first corner that will cause an incident in this race. I can't really say with 100% certainty. But coming around turn 8 and heading down the straightaway towards turn 9, A Higher Place is doing a great job fending off the pack of sharks that is behind them at the moment. And Negative Waves definitely has the ability to get the overtake done, but I think it's all going to be a matter of opportunity. As we see A Higher Place coming through turn 13 and getting ready to go through turn 14, Wid is right there and ready to try and make the jump. But it doesn't look like he'll be able to at this moment, and is trying to give a bump draft to his S7R teammate. So coming up towards turn 1 and turn 2, A Higher Place will still be leading the charge on lap 5. We are a fifth of the way through this race, and it looks like Wid is going to try and find the prime time to strike. So A Higher Place needs to drive both cautiously and also swiftly if he wants to make sure he doesn't get overtaken and possibly not see the race lead for quite a while. Higher Place is doing what he can, as well as Flopster, who is currently a half second behind Negative Waves, but is still trying to keep in line with the rest of the cars. He is purple by 0.06 of a second, almost 7, so he's definitely got the pace here as well. The current fastest lap does go to Alicos 1 with a 1:12.7 for the fastest lap. So honestly, there's plenty of time to be shaved off here, and these drivers are really just kind of getting into a rhythm. Looks like he did lose a little bit of time coming through turn 8 and the back half of the circuit, though. Taking a look over at Alicos in P6, who is still knee-deep in this conga line of cars. He is only a quarter of a second behind Flopster as they come around turn 14. Runs a little bit wide, half of his tires are on the dirt, but that's not enough to warrant dirty tires in terms of how the tire physics work in this game. Wid falls into P3 from Bacon Dance, so Bacon Dance will take P2 for now, but let's see what the retort will be from Wid. But it also looks like Negative Waves is coming through and trying to take the outside line to try and take P3 off of Wid's hands. This is definitely looking pretty precarious for Wid, who has had a rather strong winning streak for the NRL this season. Taking a look at the replay, so Wid gets squirrely coming out of turn 14, and that caused him to scrub off quite a bit of speed, but Bacon Dance was able to capitalize on that loss of speed and take P2. So I don't think Wid's too thrilled about that one if I had to hedge a bet. So Bacon Dance did take P2, and we're going to have to see how it all transpires, as Wid is now almost a half second behind Bacon Dance and almost a full second behind A Higher Place, who is still in the race lead. So Hovercraft, we are seeing some uncharacteristic behaviors for our drivers on this one. We've got Wid in P3, we've got A Higher Place taking the lead, Bacon Dance is in P2, and honestly, I don't know how to take all this. It's refreshing, but it's also quite curious. So what are your thoughts?
I think the answer to your, to your delirium, I guess, is that if you look at the fuel tanks and the ways these guys are driving, I feel like Higher Place and Wid are fuel saving a lot more compared to second place and fourth place in Bacon and Negative Waves. They're revving out the cars so much more, and I don't know which one's going to be the faster strategy, be it fuel saving or, or using up a lot more fuel and then having to refuel in the pits. But these two different philosophies are causing the difference in the typical grid order that we would see on a normal NRL round. And I think we're going to see these two strategies unfold a lot more once we get into the first round of pit stops.
You make a very solid argument there, and yes, the refueling is going to be a huge point of contention just because it is 2 liters a second. That could spell utter disaster for a driver who is not paying attention to their fuel consumption, and will have them spending quite a bit of extra time in the pits. As we see, Bacon Dance is getting ready to up. It looked like he was trying to line up a move, but didn't have enough momentum, so A Higher Place will still hold on to P1 for right now. I think that was a bit of a wake-up call for a higher place, and we'll have to focus a tiny bit more on some defensive driving. Coming through turn 2 for the 8th time of asking, it is a higher place, and Wid is still in P3 with Bacon Dance stuck in the middle. Bacon Dance is currently sitting at a little over half a second ahead of S7R Wid, and he is gaining on a higher place like there is no tomorrow. So if Bacon Dance is able to play his cards right, he could get the race lead when the time is right, and he might be able to hold on to it for a little bit, at least until those pit stops start flying in. We are on lap 8, and it looks like Bacon Dance is definitely far from done, as well as Negative Waves. Negative Waves has been trying to get P3 for the entirety of this race, and my goodness, look at him go. He is doing everything he can. He's kicking up dust. He's trying to find the optimal line to try and get past and take that last podium step. Negative Waves does get side by side with Wid for just a split second, but has to back off just a little bit as there was some overlap in the maneuver. So Wid will hold on to P3, but Bacon Dance is going to run away just a little more, and now he's going to have to contend with Negative Waves and Flobster, who are ready to strike at the first opportunity. I'm glad to see that all these drivers are able to keep it all on the circuit and keep everything nice and neat and give us some proper clean racing. I just want to see what will happen with the tail end of this race, because everybody's pushing the car to the limit slow-mo, and we've seen some huge discrepancies in tire life and fuel consumption. So do you think we're entering the unofficial pit window, or do you think these drivers are going to stay out for as long as humanly possible?
You know, I think they're going to stay out a little bit longer. I mean, if you look at those sport softs, they're getting a little bit worse, but they're not going bad too fast. So watch for these guys to hang out for a little bit longer out on track and really push the life of these tires a bit more. We have seen, Shred had a little bit of a spin. We didn't quite catch that on camera, but, these guys they're pushing the track as wide as they can get it, as you see them kicking up dirt almost every other turn. And as you get further in the race, that is going to bring some challenges for them.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, it is challenges aplenty for this car and track combination for these drivers. Now, Bacon Dance is still trying to find an opportunity to stick his nose in and get the race lead. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on that one here in the near future. But as we take a look over at Darken Azriel, who is currently sitting 2 seconds behind Alicos and a second and a half ahead of S7R, the True Serum. Truth is sitting in a bit of an island at the moment, but is able to focus on running clean, consistent laps. And I think that consistency is going to be a big factor in trying to catch up to the rest of the field, as well as, preserve the life of his tires and his fuel, which will, by extension, ensure that he has a more favorable position once the pit stops start rolling in and coming through.
And I think there was a lead change between Bacon Dance and Higher.
You are correct. Bacon Dance found his opportunity to strike, and now Bacon Dance is leading the charge right now. So a higher place falls into P2 and is a quarter of a second ahead of his teammate in Wid. So Bacon Dance will try and run away as fast as humanly possible, and honestly, who would blame him? But I highly doubt a higher place or Wid are going to give up any opportunities. So let's see how this all shakes up. Coming up into turn 8, it looks like a higher place was trying to get a good line, but Bacon Dance was able to stick his nose in and capitalize on a moment of hesitation off of a higher place. So that will give Bacon Dance the overall race lead. But I hope he is aware the S7R drivers, they are quite persistent from everything we have seen here in the NRL as well as outside of the NRL. So Bacon Dance leads the charge. He's actually over 3/4 of a second, or at least was ahead of P2 and 3 at the moment, coming up into turn 8 for the 11th time, and he is trying to pull away. A higher place getting a little squirrely towards the tail end of turn 8. Don't know what is causing that, but as they head up towards turn 9, 10, and 11, Bacon Dance is, dancing through it and going into the hard braking zone for turn 11 and heading into turns 12 and 13. He's still trying to pull away. That gap is getting ever slightly larger between himself and the rest of the grid. So now the gap is over a second. So that is, working out quite well in Bacon Dance's favor. Now Negative Waves, who is still trying to find an opportunity to get that last podium step, but Wid is not making this easy, as any driver should. You really want to make your opponents work for your positions and really make them earn it. And he's really making it look easy. I don't know what he does to practice, but my goodness, he's an iron wall right now for Negative Waves. So it's going to take a lot of craft and a lot of persistence to try and get through that. Negative Waves is also about a half second ahead of Flopster, so he doesn't really get the opportunity to try and duke it out with Wid should the opportunity arise. Not only will that slow him down too much, but his tires aren't looking too hot at the moment as we are nearing the tail end of lap 12. So if I were to speculate, I think Negative Waves might be one of the first people to come in and box just due to how much he's been pushing the car. As we keep an eye on Flopster, who is trying to find an opportunity to get around Negative Waves and catch up to Wid. It looks like Bacon Dance will go into the box, as will Wid, a higher place. It looks like everybody's going into the box. Pit stops for everybody, barring Alikos, who decides to stay out. Will anybody else be going into the pits? I can't really say for certain. Hondo decides to stay out. So it looks like we might be seeing an overcut strategy from these three drivers, as we see a higher place is now out of the box, as well as Wid. Some of the drivers have elected to take some fuel. I am going to be very eager to see how this all transpires, as now a higher place is into P3 with Wid in P4 and Truth is in P5 at this current moment. And it's really anybody's game right now, Slamo. The pits are coming in, but I don't know how impactful the overall pit strategy is going to be.
I think it's going to be big, and I would say higher place is provisional P1 right now, because we know Alikos and Hondo's going to go in eventually. Both of them are on the soft compound. I just can't see them trying to stretch that out too much longer.
Yeah, but I mean, when you think about it, the cars did have, for the most part, quite a bit of life in them. As Alikos does go into the pits, it looks like he will be opting to go in now. Will Hondo go in as well, or will he be going for... He did? All right, so Hondo goes into the box. So it looks like the overcut was only just a lap. We're going to have to see where that spits them out here in the near future, but that does put a higher place back into P1 with Wid in P2 and Truth in P3. So we've got a S7R podium at the moment. Let's see how long they can keep that going. Alikos is out of the pits now, and that shoots him into P5. So it looks like staying out an extra lap did benefit him in some regards, because now he is ahead of Negative Waves, who has fallen into P6, but Negative Waves is trying to find a way to get around him at the moment. Let's see if he can do it while staying on the track and keeping focus, because I understand emotions being high, but the last thing you want to do is have a mistake when you're trying to get around somebody on a track such as Willow Spring. They are side by side right now as they go through turn 6 and up into turn 7. So Negative Waves does get around Alikos, but I don't think he'll be out of the woods anytime soon. Alikos up in P6, coming through turn 8, is trying to carry some momentum and really slingshot around and get past Negative Waves as they head down the road towards turn 9. Hovercraft, we've seen Negative Waves really battling for the vast majority of this race. How do you go about battling on a circuit such as this? Because I don't know, it seems like it's risk versus reward, but the risk is outweighing the reward in some portions of the circuit. Oh, and Wid goes purple.
Absolutely, and you do bring up a good point in that fighting for these positions do come with a lot more risk than your typical GR3 road circuit race. But at the end of the day, Negative Waves is only sitting on 7 points, right? And he's on track for at least a P5, possibly a P4. So he needs to be getting his arms out. He needs to be battling and fighting for all these points, because right now he's not really looking that good to get a spot into the finals. So he needs to eke out every single point that he can.
Yeah, and we are definitely at that point in the season where every single point matters. But I don't know. These guys are the ones that train, so I can't speak on to what they are thinking. It's just, from an outsider's perspective, my goodness, it is, it's a little nerve-wracking, I will admit as much, but focusing on the on-track action, a higher place is currently over half a second ahead of his teammate in Wid, and Wid is over 6 seconds ahead of Truth. I think a higher place and Wid have really been putting in the repetitions and laying everything they can on the track, because they are just pulling away from everybody right now. Wid trying to keep up with a higher place as he comes through turn 5 and then into 6. Everything is running rather smoothly, and it looks like a higher place is purple by 0.04 of a second. So we're still trying to find the overall peak time for these cars. They've got fresh sport softs, and it doesn't look like they'll be going back into the pits anytime soon. We've only got 9 laps left, and these drivers are ready and raring just to bring it on home. It looks like quite a bit of dust kicked up by a higher place, and Wid is going to have to really navigate around that. I wonder, wow, he is really cutting those apexes, so he's trying to carry as much momentum as possible. Well done to a higher place. Coming around to start lap 17, he is down on his overall best lap at the moment, but he is doing everything he can to try and carry on and keep that race lead off of his S7R compatriot. As we see them go through towards turn 3, a higher place, it really can't seem to shake Wid, so this has to be both fun and a little bit stressful for our race leader. As we make our way towards the S's of turns 4 through 8, a higher place is doing what he can to carry momentum and keep everything on the track. They get rather close, but they are doing everything they can to keep everything pointing in the right direction, because one little mistake and it's off to Narnia you go. Higher place and Wid coming around turn 8 and heading down the straightaway to turn 9. That's a very interesting braking zone, folks, because you have this little gap and then you have an elevation change, and you have to get rather hard on the brakes as well. It's not exactly a position where any drivers can go for a dive bomb either, lest you wind up going off into the dirt. So as we see Wid and a higher place go into turn 14 and to the start finish line to start lap 18, there's no real shakeup in terms of the overall race order, but it looks like a higher place is slowly but surely pulling away from Wid. Now, they are definitely making quite a bit of ground, and from what I can gather, they're methodically battling, because they're not slowing down by any stretch of the imagination. And as we take a look over at Alikos, who's currently 3.7, about 3.5 seconds ahead or behind Negative Waves, he's got quite the formidable opponent in Flopster right behind him. Flopster is currently 3/4 of a second behind him, but I know Flopster is seeing those points that he could get for P6 and is trying to find a way to materialize them in his hands. As we see Flopster going through turn 5 and into turn 6, he's losing a little bit of speed to Alikos, but he's catching up coming through turn 7 and into turn 8, taking the low side, and it looks like maybe taking a less than ideal line, because he went a little higher up than I've seen him go, and that also affords Alikos the opportunity to start pulling away from Flopster. So Flopster's really going to have to find a way to remake up all of that lost time. And coming into the braking zone for turn 11, Flopster is going to try and do everything he can to keep up with Alikos as they make their way through turns 12, 13, and 14. Let's take a look at the Truth Serum, who is fending off Bacon Dance at the moment. Looks like the deficit between Bacon Dance and Truth is a little over half a second, almost in that 3/4 of a second territory, but Bacon Dance is also almost 5 seconds away from Negative Waves, so Bacon Dance doesn't have to worry about what's behind him at the moment. He does get a little squirrely coming out of turn 2 and 3. Coming up into turn 4, he's really pushing the car as much as possible. Hubbard, what do you think of what we're seeing so far?
You know, I think Truth is doing everything he can to stay ahead. He did do a lot more fuel saving at the beginning, and Bacon Dance had to refuel, and it allowed Truth to jump Bacon Dance into the pits to round off this S7R podium, which, as an S7R member, you know, all I can say is this is expected, but at the same time, it's hard work to get this sort of result done, and I hope that Truth does take that final podium spot.
Yeah, I mean, a S7R podium's got to put a pretty big smile on your face right now, and Truth is doing a great job at fending off Bacon Dance. If he can do it for 5 more laps, then yeah, we'll be seeing a 1, 2, 3 out of S7R for, if I'm not mistaken, Slow-Mo, it's probably for the first time ever, right?
As memory serves, I think you might be right there. I don't have the stats right in front of me, but I don't recall that.
Yep, so we might be seeing history in the making, folks. If everything stays as it is, we are on the precipice of yet another historic race for the NRL history books. Now taking a look at Wid, who is trying to get past a higher place, or at least keep up at this moment. A higher place really is coming into his own on this race. It's really working in his favor. So as we see them heading in towards turn 11, a higher place is really able to get out of that corner a little bit faster than Wid. And coming through turns 12, 13, and now 14, we've got a higher place making a good run out and across the line to start lap 21. It's all coming together for S7R and especially for a higher place to break the winning streak of his teammate in Wid. So I think we've got quite a few storylines going on here, as we also see Wid get a little squirrely coming out of turn 2. A minor drip, but is able to catch it, so well played to Wid. Making our way up into turn 4, and he was getting a little closer to a higher place, but a higher place keeping that door firmly shut. But I'm sure with enough pounding on said door, Wid will be able to get on through in no time. Heading up towards turn 8, and Wid staying on the low side for turn 8 and belting it on around. I've noticed that the drivers are doing everything they can to stay off that high side of turn 8, Hubber, and I think it's probably due to how unpredictable it is, but is the lower line just all in all faster for turn 8?
Yeah, overall, it's not like high-speed ring where you enter and exit on the high line. There is a high line, but it's only on an exit, meaning that you can't really carry the speed onto that high line, and that's typically the advantage of a high line. So because of that, there isn't really much of a gain in using that high line, so you just kind of want to cut it low, right? Hit the apex like a typical corner. You use a little bit of that banking on that outside high line to make sure you hit or put down the power pretty well, but that's really about it.
Yeah, and you do make a very good point on the taking the low line, because it is a corner that will deceive you. You could think that going high will be the optimal move, but your car understeers off, especially in a car such as this and on tires such as these, and well, it'll be postcards from Narnia from there on. Now taking a look at Truth, who is coming through turn 8 and still fending off Bacon Dance as we are nearing the anti-penultimate round. It's looking really great so far. This is a beautiful showing of defensive driving from Truth. I know he's been doing what he can. Bacon Dance cuts quite a bit of the corner on turn 11, but is able to hold on and keep the car moving as it should be. He does catch up to the Truth Serum though, and he caught up rather close. So Truth is really going to focus on driving on the defensive now as they make their way into turn 1. They are going to be side by side. Will Bacon Dance get the overtake done? No. Will he go for the cutback? It looks like he's trying to. They are scraping right now, and Truth goes sideways. But is he able to hold on to it? It looks like he is. Oh, that could have been disastrous for the Truth Serum. So Bacon Dance will jump onto that final podium spot as we are on the antepenultimate round. So it's going to be do or die time if Truth wants to get the that last podium step. So as we see, Bacon Dance is trying to pull away and catch up to Wid and a higher place, who are an astronomical 4 seconds ahead. I just don't know if there's enough time in the race and if there's enough laps left. So it's going to be up to Bacon Dance to decide on whether or not he can catch up to P1 and P2, or if he's going to have to defend from probably a bitter Truth Serum at the moment. A higher place goes off into turn 11 and he falls into P2. He didn't lose too much time, but that is going to be detrimental for the morale of a higher place. Oh my goodness. Let's go and take a look at what happened on the replay. So coming through and into turn 10, and over towards turn 11. He gets onto the dirt, onto the brakes, and it looks like the car just ran away from him. Oh my, you don't want that to happen no matter where you are in the race. But as the race leader, that is just absolutely soul crushing. As we are on the penultimate lap, it's really make or break time for a lot of these drivers, and that slight mishap for a higher place does put Bacon Dance in prime opportunity to try and get even more championship points if he can catch up to a higher place in the next lap. In the next lap. So Bacon Dance is going to have to contend with Truth behind him and also a higher place in front of him. The tires are doing nobody any favors at the moment. Coming through turn 8, and Bacon Dance is going to try and carry as much speed as humanly possible coming through turn 8 and heading down into turn 9. This is going to be very exciting for the drivers as Bacon Dance gets squirrely going through turns 9 and 10. Coming through turn 11, cuts a lot on the inside just to make sure he doesn't spell disaster. And going through turns 12 and 13, everything seems to be going fine so far for Bacon Dance. Right in the corner for turn 14. I am flabbergasted right now, Slow-Mo, as we start the final lap.
Yeah, I mean, what a great battle you've seen here, and obviously higher place had just a slight little hiccup there, got his tires locked up, ended up costing P1, but he is certainly still in the podium spot. I don't know if Bacon Dance is going to be able to make up that ground here as they work on their final lap.
Yeah, and it is the final lap for a lot of these drivers, and these championship points do not come easy. So everybody's going to be doing what they can as we take a look at Flopster, who is coming around turn 3 and up towards turn 4. He's going to have to fend off Alicos, who is a half second behind him. All the drivers really need to do is worry about getting this car home. So let's see if they can do it safely and cleanly. Coming up into turn 7 and over onto P2 in a higher place, who is coming through to turn 9. He is now 2.5 seconds behind Wid at the moment and a second and a half ahead of Bacon Dance. So if he can finish this off smoothly, then P2 is all his. As we jump on board for S7R Wid, who's rounding turn 14 for the final time to see the checkered flag. And the win streak continues for Widabuddy. Taking P2 will be a higher place, and Bacon Dance taking P3, and the True Serum taking P4, with Negative Waves running out of fuel and taking P5. Very luckily taking P5. Lobster coming around and was able to fend off Alicos to take P6 with Alicos in P7. Dark and Azrael coming around, fending off Shred to take P8, and that will leave Shred in P9 with Honda rounding out our drivers and honking across the line. Wow, that was honestly unpredictable, doesn't do us justice, but congratulations to S7R's Wid, who gained 2 positions and was able to claim the clean race start and the race victory. Now taking a look at the provisional classified race results. Taking P1 will be S7R's Wid with an overall race time of 30 minutes, 53 seconds, 0.706, but he won't be taking the overall fastest lap for this race. Taking P2 will be a higher place, who had an unfortunate run in turn 11, but was able to still take a comfortable step on P2. Taking P3 in the final step of our podium will be Bacon Dance, who fought, clawed, and scratched his way to get that position. That will leave S7R's The True Serum in P4 with Negative Waves rounding out our top 5 and taking the overall fastest lap with a 1:12.060. Taking P6 will be Flopster, followed by Alicos and Dark and Azrael. Making our way down the order, we have Shred in P9 with Hondo, rounding out our drivers for this Division A race. So, Slow-Mo, starting with you, what do you think of what we saw? This was, we saw moves coming out of left field. So let me know your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, really hard track to pass on, as we talked about at the beginning of the race. And if you look at the starting positions, Wid, higher place, and Bacon Dance, all were your top 3 starters, just shifted around a little bit. So, that's just an example of how hard it was for some of the other guys to try and move up through traffic and even, get a shot at one of those top podium spots.
Yeah, Hovercraft, what do you think of what we saw?
I think it's really interesting to see the difference in the strategy, right? everyone started on the softs, everyone swapped to a set of softs on lap 12 or 13, but the difference really came down to fuel usage, right? Wood and higher, especially up front, were in the positions to be able to hold off the rest of the field with a better qualifying spot, and with that they were able to save a lot more fuel at the beginning without losing too much. And this also allowed Truth to be able to jump up to third, and even though he finished fourth, the fuel strategy did work in his favor overall by the end of the race. So really fun race to see. Everyone doing their best to keep it on track, but also just how much of a difference the philosophy and fuel saving really made here tonight.
Yeah, there was a lot of different driving philosophies on deck, and it really benefited. I mean, Truth jumped a plethora of positions just by doing the fuel saving when he left the box. But I think it's time we go and have a word with our finishers. So let's start off with Bacon Dance. Bacon Dance, you had quite the eventful race. What were some of the things you were trying to keep in mind of as you were battling it out and trying to get on to the podium throughout the race?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I kind of just walked into that race only doing like qualifying laps. I hadn't really ran a full race distance to see like what the fuel strategy would work out to be. I could tell the people ahead of me were fuel saving, coming off of well, just the first maybe 4 or 5 laps being behind Wid and them. You could just tell by the pace. But I didn't know it'd be so beneficial. I missed the fuel rate being so slow, and I just filled my tank a little bit more than I needed to. But ultimately, I guess I can't really complain. Back-to-back podiums is pretty nice. It's a tough track to race here. It was really you got to really force the force the overtake. I have a feeling some people aren't too happy with me, but yeah.
You know what? I can definitely see where you are coming from. Slummo, do you have any questions for Bacon Dance?
Yeah, I mean, tell us a little bit about getting yourself into that last podium spot. Obviously, you were kind of trying to get by the Drew Serum. I think you tucked down the inside. Tell us a little bit about getting by there.
That one, I've kind of just walked into it. It was similar to when I went side by side with Wid. Both of those were into turn one, which I really didn't think would be the overtaking spot, but not really an overtaking spot around this track, you know. So you just kind of you throw the car in there, you wait for the other person to go off the line, and you just kind of work off of it. I'm interested to see what the replay looks like because I feel like we got a little stuck together. It felt like the car got extra loose, and we were just kind of we kept bumping into each other, kind of like a netcode thing. But I mean, it was on me. I was just shooting the gap. I knew if I had any shot to go get any higher, you know, second or first, I would have to make quick work of them. But yeah, just fun stuff.
Yeah, no, great race. Congratulations on that P3 finish, and look forward to seeing what you can do next week as well.
Thank you.
All right, and Hovercraft, do you have any questions for our P3 finisher?
Yeah, first off, congratulations on the P3, Bacon. Really fun race to see, and it was really fun to see you kind of try to out qualify Wid and higher. Run me through some of your thoughts when tackling qualifying today.
I was pretty shocked with qualifying. I hadn't really done a whole lot of practice with anyone. I was just kind of running solo laps. I would shout out to like Negative Waves. That dude was rapid. He was one of the only people I saw consistently putting in 11s. And I was scared. I thought everyone was going to be putting in 11s. So I ended up starting on the front row. I was like, wow, okay, this is good. And this track's pretty much like, Monaco. It's just impossible to pass. So I was like, well, if we get the strategy right, should be a good race for us. And ultimately, we just got outgamed. But yeah, quality was where it was at, and thankfully we had good pace there. So
Absolutely. No, I mean, you did a wonderful job in qualifying. Helped you a lot in getting this P3 tonight. So congratulations on the P3. Great podium, and I hope to talk to you hopefully next round and hopefully in the finals.
all right, thank you. Good race, guys.
All right, and now let's go and have a word with a higher place. Higher, you were leading the charge for a good portion of the race, but one unfortunate mishap in turn 11 spelled the end of everything. First off, great job on saving the car. Absolute masterful work on keeping control of the car. But can you walk us through what went wrong?
Yeah. I was watching Wid in my rear view. That was pretty much
Ah,
it. So it's yeah, I just knew he was there, and I knew how conservative I was being into that corner. I was really trying to tire save, and I could see almost every corner that, or every time he came to that corner on that lap, he'd be just near missing me. Like our lines were different, and he was like right up behind me, and I was like, okay, this time I'm going to give him a little space. And I went a little too wide, and I gave him the whole space. So, yeah, just mistake on my part. Too focused on who's behind me rather than what's ahead of me.
I think we've all been there before. Hovercraft, any questions for your S7R teammate?
Of course, congratulations, Hire. Wonderful job today. I know that mistake towards the end is probably you're probably chewing yourself up over it, but at the end of the day, it was still a fantastic drive. P2, especially with a very dominant pole lap, right? Almost 4/10 above second place with Bacon. What were your thoughts when you crossed that line and put down the only 111 of the day?
Yeah, thanks for that. Um, so yeah, I'm ruined just for the first part of your question there or your comment. I'm ruined it a little bit, but it's not so bad to lose to a teammate, so I'm all right with that. In terms of qualifying, I really didn't think I'd put the lap together. This was the least favorable wind direction for me, so I was generally genuinely surprised myself to put the 11.8 down. So quite happy with that.
Course, if anything, take away that because it really was an impressive lap. Like I said, almost 4/10 above second place in such a short circuit is a very impressive accomplishment. And tonight you grabbed some very good points, and that means that you are one step closer to the finals. So congratulations, great work tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and Slomo, any questions for our P2 finisher in higher?
Yeah, higher. We were watching the race very closely, obviously, when you guys went into the pits, and it looks like you guys were able to get in and out. Speaking of you guys being the SR7 crew, were you guys doing some fuel saving early? And if so, how much did you have to do to give yourself an advantage?
Yeah, so we Truth and I ran some practice throughout the week, and we found that shifting around the 20% mark on the rev bar at max was kind of what you would need to make it to the end. So we went with that. And in this race, I was a little more conservative at the beginning. I was actually fuel map 2 to try and save a little bit to have more of an overcut. I thought maybe I could push more in the second stint. So played around with a few things there.
Yeah, very good. It looked like it paid off well, and really, really fun to watch that race. Thanks for putting on a great show. Congratulations on the P2 finish tonight.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, now it's time to have a word with the man of the hour, Wid. You are no stranger to race victories, and honestly, I think Lady Luck, the racing gods, GT Jesus, whomever, they really smiled upon you on this one. So run me through what it was like overcoming the obstacle that was trying to get past your teammate in a higher place, because it looked like he was making you work for it.
I wasn't really ever planning on passing him, or I guess I didn't expect to pass him. This track it's really hard to pass on, especially if someone doesn't want you to, and when you're fuel saving. So, and also, I knew he had a bit more fuel than me coming out of the pits, so I knew he'd be able to defend really well if I ever tried to use a bit more fuel. So I had kind of resigned myself to second place. I just wanted to sort of keep it close in case he did make a mistake, which happened, and it's a bummer. I know I've wiped out there plenty of times in practice. I count myself pretty lucky that I didn't really have any mistakes this race. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Rightfully so. That is a good thing to rest your head on. Kept everything nice and neat, and it worked out in your favor. Slomo, any questions for a race winner?
No questions. Really, really great drive today. So much fun to watch you guys out there doing so much competition in such little space. Hovercraft, I'll toss it over to you.
Well, congratulations every time. We're in this scenario. You take the win. I'm in the broadcasting booth. It's always a great feeling. So
You saying it's thanks
congratulations.
to you?
Yes. We were talking. We were talking earlier in the week, and you mentioned how you were feeling sick a few days ago. How have you recovered from that? And do you think that sickness took away some pace tonight, or made you second guess your abilities for today?
I mean, I guess I was, I don't know. I'm just coming off the flu, so it limited my practice time, but I don't know if it really, I can't really say for sure if it held me back in terms of pace or not. Maybe confidence, sure, but I just kind of wanted to go out there and um, I guess try and not make mistakes. And if that was, driving tentatively, then sure, that's what I'll do. I didn't expect to win, but I'm happy I did.
I mean, you did it. Definitely had to work hard. Work hard this race. You were held to the tightest margin compared to the first two rounds of the season, but by just driving consistently, and it was a great showing. So congratulations, and I hope to see you the next round.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Hover.
Yes, congratulations indeed, Wid. You go rest and relax, and hopefully you're excited to see what you will be facing in the next round in 2 weeks' time. All right, everybody. And with that being said, when we come back on the other side, we will have the standings for Division A for tonight, as well as the race details for our next round, which again will be happening in 2 weeks. So until we come back from break, go grab yourself a snack, take care of whatever else you need, and we will see you in just a few minutes. All right? Sit tight.
Hi, I'm Mark Goldstein, and welcome to Hankies. We are located in the heart of Old Town Florissant, 901 North Lafayette, a few blocks down from Sacred Heart Church and Hendel's Market Cafe. This local establishment started in 1926. The Hankies family bought the bar from the Schraders in 1955 and then turned into what it is today, Hankies Tavern. And in 2021, a group of local investors became owners of Hankies Tavern. Recently, we went from a dirt pile to a full-fledged patio, which has bags and washers, entertainment on Friday, Saturday night, which we hope to extend that. We have extended our kitchen hours, which is a request for many, many years. We do have draft beer back after a 12-year lull of no draft beer. We have brought that back with Budweiser as our mainstay, since this was a Budweiser bar in 1926, right before Prohibition.
We're still doing the crinkle cut fries and our cheeseburger platters, but now we have a couple new creative ideas that our kitchen staff has came up with. So come in and try our homemade chicken lollipops. We smoke them fresh daily and then fry them and top them with a Asian butter sauce, and then top with green onions as well. That's our biggest hit right now that we have on our menu. Each and every day we make fresh sauces, and we take pride in that. We feel like we have a very good variety of sauces that pair well with our appetizers. Whether you want to come in here for lunch with just you and a buddy, or you want to come in here with you and your whole group of people, whether it's 20 people, 200 people, we feel like we can accommodate everyone and anybody.
As of this year, we've done something that it hasn't happened in the history of this establishment. We do accept credit cards. We established a Hankies Helps non-for-profit organization that reaches out to friends in need. Hankies is a community bar. We have a lot of the regulars from years past still attending. We have a lot of the regulars that have left our area that are coming back in droves to see what's going on. Hours of operation is from 11 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. The kitchen hours are from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. and Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 11 a.m. till 9 p.m. Find out more information about Hanky's on our Hanky's Facebook page, Hanky's Tavern. We put the band, when the bands are going to be here, the events are going to be here. Come join us at Hanky's Tavern for a burger and a beer. You'll enjoy all the new items that we have, and you'll enjoy all our new improvements. So we look forward to seeing you in the future. Again, join us on our Facebook page, or you can call us at 314-386-1525 to get a carry-out order, or if you have any questions.
Witness a lakefront transformation right here in the Point. And you may not believe it, but just last year, this home was down to the studs.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Season 7 of the NRL, brought to you by the DGDR Podcast, Trails and Custom Construction, Hanky's Tavern, and Little J CPA. Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you so much to our sponsors for their support. We have had a fantastic night tonight, and now it's time we go and take a look at the standings for Division A after the race we just witnessed. So, taking a look at the provisional overall standings for Division A for Friday, it is S7R Wid who is leading the charge with 56 points, followed by Shred in P2 with 33 points. Bacon Dance is going to be rounding out our top three for Friday with 30 points, followed by the True Serum in a tie with his teammate in a higher place with 23 points, with Alicos in P6 with 22, Flopster in P7 with 18, and a tie with IORT Azrael. We've got Moose in P9, followed by VIP Lecapassu, rounding out our top 10 with 9 points. We've got Negative Waves in P11 with 7, followed by Hondo with 5. He is tied with Drobo for P12. And we've got Aji the Squirrel rounding out our Division A drivers for Friday with 4 points. Now, after all of that has been said and done, and once the stewards take a look at any possible inquiries, we will have everything laid out for you by next round, which will happen in 2 weeks' time. And speaking of our semifinal round, it is time we go and take a look at what our drivers will be up against for this illustrious race. Starting with our Division B race, it looks like we are going to Trial Mountain for round 4. So let's see what our Division B drivers will be, and they will be in the Honda NSX GT500 08 model. That is a good car. They will be doing 17 laps with 5 times tire, 3 times fuel. It'll be a grid start with false start check. BOP will be on with brake balance allowed. They will have a 3 liters a second refuel rate and heavy damage with all tires available, but they have to run at least one stint on those racing hards. Hovercraft, starting with you, what do you think? A legendary circuit for Gran Turismo and a legendary car to boot.
I think it's going to be really interesting because it's very much one of those tracks that are kind of wide and open, right? So the downforce of this NSX really plays into it. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of overtakes going into that turn 1 kind of fast chicane and the back straight on that hairpin. I think that's where we're going to see a lot of the action.
Yep, and Slow-Mo, what do you think of what we are presented with? I know some of our drivers over in the chat are quite exhilarated over the idea of having a Group 3 race.
Yeah, that's a fun race. You know, as we watched in the group, the A split tonight, they didn't have a lot of room to pass, but that is not the case here. There is plenty of room on that track, and as Hover mentioned, lots of opportunity for slipstream. So expect to see a lot of these guys backing for position down the straight.
Yep, and I am mistaken. It is actually indeed a Group 2 car, which does actually make this even better. That's going to be a car relying on downforce. And this is I would say this is a relatively high-speed circuit. You've got plenty of straightaways, and there's definitely going to be plenty of room for our Division B drivers to carry on the trend of being side-by-side, especially towards the banks. Now, that chicane at the end, that might spell disaster for an unprepared driver, so I can't wait to see how that all shakes up. Now making our way over to the Division A race. Let's see what the semifinals has in store. Blue Moon Bay, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. All right, so our Division A drivers will be at Blue Moon Bay in the Hyundai Elantra NTC 24 model. They'll be doing 24 laps, 3 times tire, 4 times fuel, 3 liters a second, heavy damage, all racing tires available, none required. BOP will be on with brake balance allowed, and it'll be a grid start with a false start check. All right, Slow-Mo, we've seen Blue Moon Bay before, so I'm actually glad to see this one back because it provides more fun than one might imagine.
Yeah, you know, it's a tricky little track, and there is some fun turns to navigate, and really you can sometimes catch somebody off guard and, you know, sneak in and steal that inside away from them if they're a little slow to get in. So that could be a fun race for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for some touring car action, so I don't know about you, Hovercraft, but this is shaping up to be a great race.
Yeah, it reminds me of kind of in a way, kind of like a touring car, right? It's pretty sure a Group 3 car, if I remember correctly. But you know, it has that. Sorry.
It's a.
Yeah, but it does have that touring car kind of nature. So, you know, we're gonna see a lot of interesting overtaking. I think we're gonna see a lot more liberal reading of the track, because I know there's some places where you can kind of get away with cutting some parts of the grass, but yeah, I think overall it's going to be a very fun race regardless.
And since this is the touring car spec of the Hyundai Elantra Group 4 car, hopefully the drivers don't treat it like actual touring car racing. Real life may be a contact sport, but this is the NRL. It is not. So hopefully our drivers will have fun with this one, and hopefully they will give us some intense and clean racing to boot, because yeah, this is going to be a fun combination. There's a plethora of strategies just for this, with all tires available and with no required tires. So yeah, I don't know, Slow-Mo, got any final thoughts on this one before we head on out of here? Oh
man, I'm excited to see what these guys are going to do with this one. You know, expect expect all those out as they navigate this track, and that always brings for some fun spectating and fun times in the booth.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Now, we may be nearing the tail end for us tonight, but please make sure that you tune in tomorrow for round 3 Saturday, which will be at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. British Time, brought to you by TK's Tati and Flawed. So it's going to be a wonderful time, and we would love to see you over there as well. They will make sure to spare no detail and definitely spare no effort to help convey how intense the racing will be. And with that, folks, it is unfortunately time for us to bid you adieu for the week. Now, if you want to keep up with us outside of commentary and the NRL, you can find Slow-Mo over here at GT-Slow-Mo, where he streams GTA Golf, Modern Warfare, and whatever else tickles his fancy. If you want to keep up with Hovercraft and the rest of the Sector 7 racing crew, including Tati over on the Saturday side, feel free to go check them all out at Sector 7 Racing here on YouTube. And if you want to keep up with me, you can find me over on Twitch at V2Nix, where I will play really whatever somebody requests or whatever I am feeling. So this may be the end of the show for us tonight, and we will see you in 2 weeks. So make sure you tune in tomorrow, and until we meet again, stay safe, take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you on the other side for the semifinals. Bye-bye for now.